Hey everyone. So I was going to delay this conversation, but you know what? I have some things I want to get off my chest and just a few things that I hope we're all mindful of. Before I get started, I want to say happy Sunday. Um, let's see. I hope you all have had a wonderful weekend. And I want to thank everyone who comes to the channel, whether you catch the live streams, you're watching the playbacks, you're commenting. I'm going to try to check the comments on this channel more. And I also want to thank everyone who has subscribed. I really appreciate you all. And so I'm going to get started. This isn't going to be very long. I know it's pretty early. So I want to talk about why the Black collective feels entitled to the Black woman's womb. Because I've seen several conversations about swirling in divestment really for quite some time. If you've paid attention to YouTube for a while, you'll see that these conversations tend to come up ever so often over the past few years. And it's made me wonder why people, frankly, are discussing something that they have no interest in. And it made me realize it's because the Black collective feels entitled to the Black woman's womb. Okay? Because you notice in these conversations where people are talking about, Black women who choose to either strictly date across racial lines, or Black women who maybe date non-Black men and Black men, or Black women who, regardless of our mating preferences, we are self first and Black women first. You never hear the people who are against our thinking point out the fact that as a collective, you have a lot of Black men who simply are not interested in relationships with Black women. As a matter of fact, I saw a comment on one of my older videos on this channel where a guy said, well, why would a man with money choose a top shelf Black woman over top shelf women of other races? Do you know what that's telling you? That's telling you that a lot of Black men don't see value even in a Black woman who meets all of the quote unquote acceptable criteria. So a Black woman who's physically fit, physically attractive, successful, a nice person, a kind person, a clean woman. She can cook. She can do all of these things. Even if you satisfy every item on the checklist, there are still Black men who are simply going to feel like you are not good enough. And so it is completely disingenuous for people to suggest that, oh, well, if you do the same things that you guys are talking about doing to attract non-Black men, you will also attract quality Black men. That's not always true. And it's time to have that conversation. When you see these men having conversations where they're basically saying that Black women over a certain age have hit the wall, when you see these men saying that they don't see any value in the North American Black woman, all right? What that means is if a man who thinks that way comes across you and you are a wonderful woman, and you would be seen as a wonderful woman regardless of your race, when you walk into a situation with the men who think like these niggas online, they're automatically going to have a wall up because you're a Black woman. There are some of these guys who have said that they also feel this way about biracial women with Black mothers. You had men for quite some time saying not to date any woman with a Black mother. And when these same men turn around, and sometimes the women who support them, when these same people turn around and basically say, that, oh, you all are just expanding your options because you want non-Black men. And if you did these things for Black men, we would be with you. When they say that, they're lying. It's not true. Okay? The reality is that one of the reasons that the marital rates have become a bit lower for Black women under 30 or 40 is because as a collective, we primarily only date Black men. And from what I've observed, when Black men are told about mating and dating, they're told to find the best woman for them. Black women are encouraged to find a good Black man. So even, like, I saw a conversation, this was an interview this guy was doing, and I'm going to try to link it in the comment section because I have to go back to Instagram and find the channel name. But this guy was doing an interview, and he was a Black guy, and he was basically saying that it bothered him to see that so many Black men put non-Black women on a pedestal. And he said he felt like it was wrong for them to do that. But even in him saying that, he made it a point to say, oh, don't get me wrong, if you're a Black man and you happen to fall in love with a woman of another race, that's fine. So even when they have conversations to somewhat acknowledge the bias and the prejudice that they have against Black women, they still have to make sure that they let the brotherhood know, oh no, I still support your right to date whoever you want to date. But you'll see so many Black women have conversations directed at single Black women, right? And they refuse to acknowledge that a good portion of Black men simply will not see you as a viable option. They just won't. That's why when you look at the new, you look at new marriages, Black men who have been married within the last 5 years or so, nearly 25% of them are in marriages with non-Black women, and that number is only going to go up. So to be so concerned about another Black woman's dating choice that you lie to her and you tell her, well, no, if you do all these things, you'll attract more Black men too. That's simply not the case. I'm telling you this as a Black woman who was in my 30s when I got married. I hit all of the little things that they say that they prefer in Black women, okay? And I got to the place where I could tell when I had encountered a man, a Black man, who had a wall up about dealing with Black women. And that's when I got to the point where I just stopped only dating them. Like, I've literally seen conversations where people say, oh, and again, it's Black men and some of their Black women supporters who will say, oh, well, yeah, if you had Black women and they weren't so overweight and they did this and they did that, then, oh, we definitely would give them a chance. Okay. How many of you have single Black women friends who are physically fit, don't have kids, attractive women, and all of this stuff, and they're still not married? How many of you know Black men in interracial relationships or marriages with homely looking non-Black women or straight up fat, obese non-Black women? Okay? Matter of fact, how many of you know or have seen situations where Black women who are single moms, Black women who may be overweight, how many of you have seen those women be able to date and marry across racial lines? Because I have. I know Black women who were single mothers and they were able to pull men across racial lines. I know Black women who are overweight who were able to pull successful non-Black men and were able to get married. So I don't understand why these people keep lying and suggesting that there's some magical thing that we have to do in order to attract Black men. The reality is, and I'm not going to put any qualifiers on it, because when people talk about Black women, they don't say not all or most or whatever. Okay? If you're not smart enough to know that in conversation, no one can know 100% of every person within a group, then that's your personal problem. But the reality is that if you look at the majority of the content that's being made about Black women on social media from Black men, their content suggests that they see no value in Black women. Do you understand? The same qualities that would make you a viable dating partner amongst other races of men make you somehow unattractive to Black men. Do you understand? They belittle and laugh about your success if you are a Black woman who is successful. You make money, you have a certain amount of education. They make fun of you for that, and they say, well, oh, that's not a big deal. If you're a Black woman and you are naturally a homemaker, you like to cook, you like to clean up around the house, you do those things because it's important to you, there are Black men who will belittle that, and they'll say, well, I don't need a woman to do those things for me anyway. See, what's happening is people don't like the message from Black women who talk about being self-first, because for so long, Black men have basically been able to take the most ideal Black women and keep those women in baby mama relationships or relationships where you live together long term without the benefit of marriage. And that's what these men want to continue to do. Because notice, when they have these conversations saying that, they have a problem with Black women being self-first, they're not talking about building solid family and community structures for Black women and children. That's not what they're saying at all. As a matter of fact, many of them have doubled down on their belief that, they don't feel a need to, quote unquote, build anything as a collective of men. They don't feel that responsibility. They feel that they only have that responsibility to the individual woman that they're with, whether that woman is Black or non-Black. So they haven't changed that conversation. They simply want Black women, no matter what options we have, no matter what we bring to the table, they want Black women to accept sexual, non-committed relationships. And people oftentimes, when they have these conversations, they'll talk about genetic annihilation. If too many Black women get into these interracial partnerships, then you're going to have fewer Black people. It's like, newsflash, Black men are the biggest swirlers in the Black community. Okay? So if there's going to be some sort of genetic annihilation, it's, why don't people worry about the Black man and where he's sticking his member? It's because they want access to the Black woman's womb. We've had this conversation here before about how many Black men who are in relationships or marriages with non-Black women or biracial women, many of those men have had at least one child with a Black woman. If you really think about it, whether they are celebrities, men you know in your personal life, or men that you know through social media, there are a lot of Black men who maybe their current woman is white, Asian, Latina, whatever. And then you find out that they have at least one Black baby mama. Why? Because they want to preserve their Black lineage through a Black womb. But then when they decide to settle down into marital relationships, their financial legacy goes to the non-Black woman. And I don't understand why so many Black women accept that. And I don't understand why there are so many Black women who frankly will lie to other Black women and who will say, well, all you have to do is jump through all these hoops. And you're going to find that great Black man. The reality is that is not going to be true for some Black women. If you're a Black woman and you live in certain parts of the country, there are simply not enough Black men to go around. You know, if you live in places like DC or Atlanta, that's why I don't recommend, you know, I know people move for career reasons, but I personally think it's better for Black women to live in kind of mid-sized metropolitan areas. Anything bigger than that, it's simply not going to be enough men to go around if you insist on only dating Black men. So you have that. And then the very real truth that there are simply some Black men who don't want anything other than sex from a Black woman. Okay? It's simply the truth. Because you got to think about something, right? The same men who talk about how they don't like the out-of-wedlock birth rate, right? They make fun of Black women for being single mothers. These same men hate Planned Parenthood. And I know that we all have our own individual feelings on abortion. So that's an individual conversation for you to have with yourself. But people have to understand something. Abortion is a small percentage of the services that Planned Parenthood provides. A lot of women in poorer communities use Planned Parenthood for access to birth control and for well care screenings for women who don't have a lot of health insurance. They can get a lot of their well care screenings or, you know, certain other services done through Planned Parenthood and not have to pay as much. But yet these same men who have a problem with single motherhood have a problem with an organization that provides reproductive health services for Black women and women in general that can help you prevent unplanned pregnancies. I personally don't believe in abortion. But I know that there are a lot of women who do use Planned Parenthood to get access to certain contraceptives, you know, like the IUDs, like I said, birth controls, condoms. But yet you have so many Black men who hate Planned Parenthood. And it's like, okay, if you hate single motherhood and you also hate the fact that there are Black women that have access to services that would help them prevent unplanned pregnancies, then what's the real issue? What's the real issue? And when they talk about single motherhood, they do it in a way to basically minimize the Black man's responsibility with that. Completely ignore the fact that you see so many Black men. I'm not going to say so many, but you do see a lot of Black men having children outside of marriage, and they see no problem with it. They feel like as long as they take their kids school shopping, they're good fathers. And they're not being called out for the fact that there is a certain group of women that they use to have children so that they can have at least one Black child. And then that there's another group of women that they view as worthy for marriage. And so as Black women, we have to recognize this, and we have to stop giving we have to stop giving the Black collective easy access to our wounds. That's it. I'm going to read through the chat before I go any further. Hey, Hyperfanatic. Good morning, Black Rose. Oh, Hyperfanatic, you're in England. Yeah, I've heard that because I've seen videos on YouTube where they talk about the same conversations we have here about Black women having, a hard time dating because there are so many Black women, even in other parts of the world, who only want to date Black men. Yes, Tap, that's very true. In this day and age, if a Black woman encourages Black love to the point where she criticizes Black women for dating outside of Black men, then that's a woman who doesn't like Black women. Or is she so male identified that she believes that the Black collective is entitled to the Black woman's womb? Hey, Traveling Diva. I don't blame you. I mean, if you have standards as a woman, then you will only allow quality men into your life regardless of who you date. The thing that people often leave out of that conversation is that you have a lot of Black men who don't want to offer a basic level of respect to Black women. Because at first they talk about the women that they view as quote unquote hood rats. But then they talk about the women that they meet and they say, well, she's an undercover hood rat. But then they will prize those same behaviors in non-Black women. I saw this video floating around social media this week, y'all, where I think she was Latina, and she found out that her man, a Black dude, was entertaining conversations with other women, and she got on either Instagram or Facebook Live with a gun and was like, she had already shot a hole in the wall, and then she fired again and pointed the gun at dude and told him, like, you need to let all of these bees know that we're in a relationship, and he just sat there and took it. If a Black woman had done that, she'd have been called all types of crazy, all types of ghetto. Oh, see, this is why we don't deal with them. But they take crazy and psychotic as long as it doesn't come in a Black package. I see your point, Black Rose. I mean, for the most part, Black love is a myth simply because there are so many Black men who don't want stable and committed relationships with Black women. And by the time a lot of them come back to Black women, they have had a bunch of kids with non-Black women. Because I've seen that too. We saw it on a worldwide scale with that soccer player, the African dude, that was making all this money, and he gave his white ex-wife complete control of his money. She fleeced him, took him for everything he had, and when he was broke, destitute, and had nothing to his name, some idiot Black woman married him. The concept of Black love, in my opinion, cannot be a reality unless there are more Black men who want it. Hi, H girl. Welcome to the chat. Okay, Tap, if you was a Black woman getting a new relationship with a Black man, I'm cutting you off because you're dangerous. I mean, I see your opinion. Because I honestly don't understand why so many Black women are so controlling of other Black women that they literally, like, you're a heterosexual Black woman trying to guilt other Black women into only dating Black men. I don't understand that. That's true, Traveling Diva. some of the white women that they get with, it's not like they're getting top shelf women unless they have a lot of money. See, hyperfanatic, you said you're not overweight, no children, slim, hardworking, and no black man looks in your direction. I'm telling you, it's because a lot of black men only want black women for sex. And anyone who doesn't tell you that is a liar. And a lot of times, the only times they change their minds is when they're older, or if they have an ex-girlfriend or an ex-friends with benefits that gets married. It's almost like for a lot of black men, they don't see any value in you unless another man wants you. And if you have watched and listened around social media over the last few years, you know what I'm talking about when I say that. Because you have heard some of these black men straight up say, oh no, I don't want this woman if another man ain't checking for her, or if another man has something bad to say about her, or if he had a bad experience with her 10 years ago, then I don't want her. You hear them saying that shit. So that's another thing that more black women should realize too. And this is what other groups of women, especially Asian women, understand. Okay? Other groups of women understand that if you come across as a highly sought after woman, that alone will make other men be interested in you. So if you are a black woman, and say you are attracted to black men, right? Hold on one second, I'm being interrupted. Sorry, guys. I swear to you, that happens every time I go live. Someone calls or they come. If it's not a phone call from one of my family members, it's someone walking into the computer room. But anyway, what I'm saying is you have to think about why so many people are concerned about such a small segment of black women. It's not a whole lot of us that are self first. Unfortunately, most black women, I'll put it to you like this: our sense of compassion is used as a weapon against us, and most black women have a really hard time processing that. Oh, that's what I was saying. Asian women tend to understand that, if you are a woman who is considering all your options and you're highly sought after, that will naturally make other men look at you. And so if more black women simply thought in a way where you met the best man for the job, right? Whether he's black or white, Asian, whatever. If you thought in that way, and the people around you, they always saw you around high quality men, successful men, regardless of race, that alone would make you more attractive to other men. But generally speaking, when you, even just on a one-on-one situation, right, the tighter you cling to someone, the more it pushes them away. And I think that so many black women are so emotionally and mentally attached to black men that it's almost like black men know that no matter what they do in their lives, they can always come back and settle down with a black woman. And that is simply not beneficial to us. That's cool, Black Rose. You said your best friend is the happiest you've seen her, and she married a Native American. That's good for her that she found someone that was able to make her happy. I don't blame you, hyper fanatic. I mean, listen, I don't know how. Sometimes I don't even know what to say, because I don't know what it's going to take for more Black women to understand that a lot of these Black men are simply not interested in relationships with Black women. And by the time they are interested in one, they're 40 and older, meaning as a man, they have either probably been through a marriage, or since a lot of Black men don't get married, maybe they haven't been married, but they have a bunch of kids, and they're so jaded by their dating experiences that you have to deal with their emotional baggage. Oh, and the fact that by the time they're 40 or 50, they generally don't want a woman in their own age group. So if you wait around until your 40s or 50s and you only deal with Black men, you're putting yourself in a situation where it's going to be harder for you to get married unless you either date outside of your race or you deal with older Black men. And some women, there are a lot of women, especially Black women, who are still very attractive into the 40s, 50s, and even 60s, And so sometimes, if you're an attractive, like 45-year-old woman, you might not want a 60 or a 70-year-old man. You know what I'm saying? But that's what you're looking at, because a lot of Black men in their 40s don't date Black women in their 40s. Aw, Traveling Diva, you said you're natural with a wide nose and have always been called ugly by Black men and boys, and you never felt that you were good enough. But see, somehow you're able to pull men of other races. I'm telling you, a lot of Black people in general, just being completely honest, a lot of Black people hate Black features, and they especially hate Black or Afrocentric features on Black women. That's very unfortunate. But that leads me to another point. I'll put it to you this way. I have heard a lot of Black women who are attractive say that they had a hard time attracting Black men, but when they go across racial lines, they have no problem attracting men. And that's because, again, you have a number of Black men who simply are not interested in Black women. And some of those guys will tell you that they're interested in Black women, but then when you hear them in conversations talk about what they're attracted to, they're simply not attracted to Black women who don't look biracial. And when I say that, I mean, so for example, because you have lighter skinned Black women who you can still look at them and tell that they're obviously Black. But I've seen guys, whether it's on YouTube, other forms of social media, or real life, take pictures that they find of Black women. And it's like any Black woman who doesn't look damn near white or Hispanic is just a woman that they don't find attractive. And they are not willing to find out why they feel that way. They are now calling their biased, bigoted, colorist viewpoints preference. So all you can do as a Black woman, unless you want to be alone, your best option is to just kind of think outside of the box when it comes to the men that you're willing to date. Obviously, you got to make sure you're attracted to them, and you have to make sure you're compatible, and you have to make sure it's a man that's treating you right. That's something you do regardless of the man's color. But I'm telling you, I have heard those conversations, and I'm like, wow. Like, some of these guys, for some of them, it's so deep. The bias is so deep that there's no way to change that. Once a person is 30 or 40 years old, you're not going to change the way they think. Yes, Tap. These women pretending like they don't see the rhetoric black men spew on social media make me sick. The not all black men bitches. Bingo. They literally, they act like they don't see what everyone else sees. And we've had the conversation here before, and I still think it's true that what's happening is that because there aren't a lot of divested or self-first black women, and the pro-black or the black love channels are larger and they have larger followings, they know that they can have these conversations and be more in control of the narrative. And so I just think that black women, regardless of who you date, right? Because in supporting a black woman's choices, to me, that means supporting black women, whether they date across racial lines or whether they choose not to date across racial lines. So I would say if you're a black woman, regardless of who you choose to date, understand that when these guys get on social media and they make these talking points, they're not just talking. This is real life. And you can see that in the statistics. You can see that in the lives of a lot of the men who are having these conversations, right? Because some of the men having those conversations are not men who are in marriages with black women. And so when they say these things about the value and the worth of black women, they believe it. And you know that they believe it because of the fact that they're not actually in relationships with black women. Because that's one thing they say about black women who exclusively date across racial lines. You'll see some of those black men say, well, is she married to this type of man? Or, well, the man she's with is a black man. They'll say that, and they'll try to use that as a talking point against us. So we should then be able to look at them and say, okay, if you're promoting black love, if you're saying you're against interracial relationships, then we get to call out the fact that you are in spaces with men who are in relationships or marriages with non-black women. We get to point out the fact that you're saying all these things about black love and so on and so forth, but you're not in a marriage or even a committed relationship with a black woman. We can call those things out. And we can look at the black women who are suggesting that black women should only deal with black men, and who are saying, well, if you jump through all these hoops, you can meet a quality black man. We can look at those women and say, okay, if you're saying that this is what works, did it work in your life? Now, I don't believe that people should have to get on here and tell their personal business, but that's a very simple yes or no question. Did it work in your life? If you're telling a black woman who wants to get married and she feels like her best chances to do that are to, would be for her to date across racial lines. If you're telling her, oh, no, you can do all these same things and still find a great black man to marry, it's like, okay, did that work for you? And if it didn't work for you, if it hasn't worked for the women in your immediate circle, and it's not working for the collective of black women, then why are you taking on this talking point? Why are you telling black women to hold out for something that is not going to exist for a lot of us? Black Rose, they want that life with all women, not just black women. White women are starting to feel it now. That's the point, Black Rose. I see your point. Because their out of wedlock birth rates are really high with non-black women too. It's just that the difference is that they don't try to force non-Black women to accept the substandard conditions. So when you see other groups of women not really dealing with Black men, or when you see them in situations where they used to date Black men and then they go back to their own race, you don't see this huge effort to try to shame them for their choices. That's a good point, Tap. As long as these Black women are attached to the men in their families, they will tell other Black women, not all Black men, and they are being disingenuous. Yeah, a lot of them are garbage in the ways that they treat Black women. And that's the difficulty that a lot of Black women have, is like, a lot of us don't know how to say, well, okay, the men in my family, or maybe even, the man in my household is a wonderful, excellent man. We don't know how to say that and then look around at the world and say, but you know what? A lot of the Black women around me are going through hell. A lot of the Black women around me are going through hell. They're in situations where they're being made to feel guilty for expecting a man to be financially responsible for his children. They're in situations where, Black men get into relationships with them and treat them poorly. I just saw a YouTube channel. Now, this woman's video is a couple years old, but she was a Black woman who made a video about how she was in a relationship for 10 years. And when that relationship ended, her ex-boyfriend was married to another woman in 5 months. You have a lot of Black women who are not looking at other Black women and saying, look, if you want to be married, don't stay with a dude who's stringing you along for years. Dr. Phil, on one of his old shows, he talked about cohabitation versus marriage. And one of the statistics that they showed, and maybe this has changed because this was a few years ago, but at that time, once a couple was in a relationship for more than, I think, 7 or 7.5 years without getting married, the likelihood of them getting married nosedived, like to the place where it was almost not likely to happen. Now, I know, of course, with me saying that, there are going to be people who say, well, I know this person, and in this situation, yeah, I know a girl that was with her man for 21 years and he finally married her. But is that the norm? No. It's not the norm, but a lot of us don't. It's like we think as a collective in the ways that don't benefit us, but when it would benefit us to do some self-assessment, some self-reflection, and to change some of our patterns, we don't want to think as a collective. Do you know what I mean? So when it comes to thinking in ways that could improve our position as Black women, we don't want to think of as a collective if it means assessing Black men in a way that's not positive. Yes, Tap, they all have starter bitches. I'm telling you. And if you didn't get married at a very, very young age, I hate to tell you, but a lot of us as Black women were probably somebody's starter bitch. And you have to realize when a man is putting you in that position, or when you're allowing a man to put you in that position, and know when to get out of the situation. Because these men know when they have a kid with you, they know that's an attachment. They know that if they are living with the woman, they know that's an attachment. I have seen these dudes in comment sections of YouTube talking about how they've been with their baby mama for 12 or 13 years, and as soon as all the kids are out of high school, they're leaving. And they're doing that so they can leave her in a way where they don't have to pay child support. Hyperfanatic. No Black man is getting access to my womb unless we are married. If Black men don't like it, I don't care. I don't blame you, because I feel like And please understand that when I say this, I don't believe in shaming women over motherhood, because that we're all here because a woman gave her body, for 40 weeks, housed us in her womb, and brought us into this world. So motherhood is a very beautiful thing to me. All I'm saying is, if we want younger Black women to be in situations that are more beneficial to them and Black children, we need to encourage more younger Black women to think that way, so that we don't have another generation of Black women, just in these harmful cycles. Because we have the power to stop it. Nobody's telling you to stop having sex. But condoms, there are so many different forms of birth control. You have the power to immediately turn some of those statistics around, so that people can stop looking at us and saying, oh, well, you have the highest percentage of out-of-wedlock birth rates. We literally have to go back to the old school when it comes to this particular issue. Old school women were not laying down and having kids with you for the most part. Now, we know it happened, but not a lot, not as often as it happens now. For the most part, old school women were not having your child unless they were married to you. They just weren't going to do it. And if they did end up pregnant, that child would go off to a relative, or they would go away and the child would be adopted. But women were not putting themselves in the position of raising children alone and dealing with everything that comes along with that. Now, I understand there are some women who just want children. For some women, marriage is not important. But I'm talking about women who do want marriage. And I think that we have to get back to this place where we're honest with ourselves, and where we say, it's okay. Even in, the world we live in now, it's okay to acknowledge that you want, the stability, the love, and the security that comes with being married. Just like it's okay for women to say they don't want that, I think more of us need to be honest, because I've seen women say they don't care about marriage. Let a nigga be with you 10 years and y'all break up, and 5 months later he's married to somebody else. Okay? So we just have to be honest with ourselves about what we want, and then make sure that we are doing as much as we can to make sure that we can get what we want. Tap. That's like saying there's not enough herpes to go around. I see your point, hyperfanatic. It's no point in jumping through hoops, and you may not even get the type of relationship that you want, when you can be yourself and go where you're appreciated. Yeah, Tap. I think the majority of Black women, like 70 to 80%, probably would say that Black men are their first choice. You said Trump needs to invest in mental health for Black women because we are sick. Yeah, we don't. At this point, I do think it's a mental or emotional issue to stick with a group of people who are making it clear that they don't want you. Oh, that's interesting, Tap. You said before you graduated nursing school, the company you worked for didn't like hiring Black women with Black mates because of drama and call-ins. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, Black Rose, I think that Black men and a lot of Black women view Black women as breeders. That's why you'll notice that there are so many. Oh boy. If I don't know if this happens to you all like in real life, but that's why for a lot of the Black women that I know, it's like if you're a Black woman and you're over like 25 with no kids, there are Black people that will look at you like you're crazy. Because I'm telling you, the Black collective wants access to the Black womb. They want us to continue to keep producing children so that as the marital rates decline, there will still be a relative amount of population stability. Now, I know that if you look at certain statistics, they do show that for most groups of people in the US, except for Hispanics, the population rate is going down. So, or at least remaining pretty stable. But I don't necessarily view that as a bad thing. Hyperfanatic Black love is fake. It is fake as long as you have Black men who don't want it. You know? Women can be leaders in certain aspects, but when it comes to relationships and marriages, frankly, that is an area that men have to lead in. And so, since we have to say it, right, looking at the statistics, but since you can say, if not the majority, then a large number of Black men aren't married. People talk about the marital rates in Black women, but I think Black men are bachelors at a higher rate than any other group of men. So that to me suggests that marriage simply is no longer important to a lot of Black men. And so you can't promote Black love to Black women when there are so many Black men who don't value us enough to see us as worthy for marriage. Yep, Tap. Some of us as women can be idiots, and it does make us look desperate. And I just hate that, I hate that so many Black women don't see that it looks desperate to cling to something that doesn't want you. Right, age girl 21, he's married to an African woman. That soccer player, imagine what that wealth would have meant if he had kept it within a Black African family and perhaps shared it with some of his family members in their native countries. Imagine what that would have meant. But he ended up being so screwed over that I don't think he was able to get hardly any of that money back from that white woman. She fleeced the heck out of him. And listen, if you are crazy enough to let someone have access to all of your finances, that's true, Tap. That's a good point. Even if Black men wanted Black love, there will still be Black women left out. Yeah, because we outnumber them. So it wouldn't even be enough to go around. Right, Black Rose, that's a good point. Why are some Black women so controlling of other Black women, scared of the rejection of their sorry ass sons? Yeah, that's one of Kendall St. Charles's points, that a lot of Black mothers are so controlling of other Black women's dating and mating choices because they don't want their sons to be rejected. And she was on point when she said that. Traveling diva, it's true, yet they are quick to say that other races of men just want us for sex. Where are all of these out of wedlock, fully black babies coming from? Boom! Boom! Where are all these out of wedlock babies that they like to talk about us for that are fully black? Where are they coming from if it's just other groups of men that just want us for sex? There it is. And I think, unfortunately, the reason that so many black women accept what's going on is because a lot of black women only see ourselves as just being worthy of sex. Because if more black women believed that they were worthy of marriages and committed relationships, we wouldn't have to have conversations about divestment, being self first, expanding your dating options. This would just come naturally. But we don't see ourselves as being worth more than sex and, being child bearers for the collective. That's a good point. Arab Black TV, I see y'all as beautiful life mates who could only improve my life in all areas. It's wonderful that you think that way. Unfortunately, a lot of black men don't seem to think that way. But the good thing for you, Arab Black, is there are a lot of black women who would be open to a relationship in marriage with you. But a lot of black men don't want that with black women. And if you think about some of the conversations you've probably heard, I'm sure you've heard a lot of black men say, the majority, they say that as a collective, we're not worth marriage and all of this and blah, blah, blah. And they say, black women as a collective are only worth $5. Why? Why? See, people can talk about how racial disparities affect black men in the workplace, right? But people ignore the fact that as black women, we deal with both racial and gender disparities. So part of the low net worth is a conversation that I think we had in a previous live stream where we talked about, I think it was in the last one, where we talked about how a lot of us as black women are altruistic and compassionate. And so a lot of the jobs we have in the labor force are jobs where there's a need, but they're low paying jobs. And then you have so many black women who are being left to raise children alone because the black collective will look down on you for doing something as simple as expecting the father to financially contribute to the household. So that's part of the reason we end up not being worth a lot of money. And we have to stop putting ourselves in that situation. Because when I really think about it, right? Like if you had a child living in the house with you, you wouldn't let that child go without food and without lights and water and feel like you were being a good parent as long as you took them school shopping, as long as you took them out to eat every weekend. When a child is in the house with you, you understand, right, that part of taking care of that child is making sure they have the roof over their head, making sure they have the electricity, making sure they have all that basic stuff, food, water, all that stuff. You understand that all of that is your responsibility. And when you have two people working in a household with a child, it's just naturally understood that both people are supposed to contribute to that. But then once it's a situation where one of the parents is no longer in the household or never was in the household, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, my only responsibility to you is to take you school shopping every July or August. See how dumb that sounds? Yes, hyperfanatic. Black men suddenly want a black woman when white men like her. I'm telling you, it's because a lot of black men don't see value in black women unless another man wants us. And they even, let me tell y'all something, they even do that to each other. You can be single, chilling, living your life. Let them find out that you're getting married. All of a sudden, all these niggas that overlooked you see value in you because another man wants you. Oh, you said you've heard black men say that. That is crazy, hyperfanatic. Hey, Kay Johnson. Yes, Black Rose. The sad part is that those types of black women raise their sons to be shit, so they can't be mad when we reject them. Yeah. Because, you know, we just have to be honest. A lot of black women baby their sons. Now, don't get me wrong. At a certain point in a child's life, that's understandable, right? You know, when they're actually babies or whatever. But a lot of black women tell their black sons that they don't think black women are shit, or, you know, they see their sons dogging out a black woman and they think it's okay. You know, so many black women don't like other black women, and so they pass that on to their sons, and then get upset when no one wants to date their reject ass children. You know? You said stay away from non-black men with black male friends. They are just undercooked black men. I see your point, Tap. Hey, I am richly melanated. Good morning. It's good to see you. Okay, Era Black, just asking a question. I'm a black man. Does my opinion or truth count here, or are y'all just running with your own narrative inventing? See, the last part of that, you know, the last part of that was real fucked up. You know, oh, are you just running with your own narrative inventing? This is not a narrative. This is us talking about our experiences. And you don't have to listen to our experiences to understand that what we're saying is true. You can simply look at the statistics. You can see the out of wedlock birth rates. You can see the decreasing marital rates, particularly for black women who are like under 30 or 40. The marital rates do go up as we get older, but they're still lower than other groups of women. So, and if you have tuned into certain conversations on social media, I'm sure you have heard black men say that they don't see value in black women. They don't want marriage with black women. They don't believe in building a family and community structure. So this is not just a narrative, and this is not just venting. This is us, you know, me and the hangout, and then the ladies in the chat. This is us having conversations about our real life experiences. Okay? Traveling diva. That's how black men operate. They don't want you until someone else does. See, we're all saying the same thing. The last guy I was into was a black man who told me that he just wanted sex. And literally months later, a white man talking marriage came along. I'm telling you. Because, see, amongst other groups of people, it is viewed as irresponsible for men to conduct themselves in a certain way. Like, literally, in some social settings, men cannot get their foot in the door and cannot get jobs or respect, if they're out here with kids by a bunch of different women that they have not married. That's why you notice when people talk about Donald Trump and all the children he has, his supporters are quick to point out, well, yes, but he was married to their mothers. It just so happened that the marriages did not work out. They are quick to point out that he tried to do it, the quote unquote right way. They're quick to point that out. Okay? That's why we had the conversation here before. When it was made known to the world that Jay-Z cheated on his wife that had been with him, has been with him since he was 20 or 21 years old. When that was made known to the world, when Jay-Z went on his apology tour, I'm telling you, he didn't do that for Beyonce. That apology was for the general public and for the men he does business with. Because men who are in that multimillionaire and billionaire class generally don't do business with men who have messy personal lives. Okay? Because the thinking is that if you can't handle your own personal situation, then we can't do business with you. The thinking is if you can mistreat the woman that you go home to every day, and you can lie to that woman every day, why should we expect you to be responsible and honest with us when it comes to business dealings? And to Tap's point about what she said about her former job and how they didn't like certain Black women, guess what, ladies? The same thing applies to us as Black women. If the people on your job see that every couple of days you're arguing back and forth with your man, he's calling up to the job or you're calling him and arguing with him in the break room, it looks irresponsible. It looks like you are not in control of your own personal life. And so it puts you in situations where it might be difficult for you to get a promotion. Because people are going to feel like if you can't handle your home life, you're not going to be suitable for certain business ventures. Or they're going to feel like, okay, for a man, oh, your baby mama is calling up to the job every 2 hours, and we don't need that happening when we need you for an important business meeting. Or for a woman, okay, you're, the woman downstairs and across the hall is a woman that you think is sleeping with your baby daddy. So you're getting in fights with her every time you walk past her in the break room. And this is not going to be a good look for certain positions that we have here. Okay. So, and this is a conversation I probably won't get too far into on this type of space. But one thing that a lot of us as Black people in general need to understand is that some of our problem in the business world, in the corporate world, is because we don't manage our personal lives very well. And if you can't handle your personal shit, it makes people feel like they don't want to do business with you. It makes them feel like you're going to be irresponsible and dishonest. But to go back to Jay-Z, he did that public apology and all those interviews where he was trying to make it clear to people that he was sorry about how he treated his wife, because he wanted his business partners to feel like he was a trustworthy person and that, this situation is handled, it's clear, you're not going to see me in the middle of any lawsuits or anything. He needed that, because I'm telling you, that's something a lot of people won't tell you, by the way. But a lot of times when your personal life is jacked up, people don't want to work with you. I agree. Black men only want a Black woman when he's used up, old, has a bunch of biracial kids. He needs help with erectile dysfunction and hidden STDs. That's a good point. I am richly melanated. We saw that with that African soccer player. And frankly, a lot of these Black guys that have a problem with Black women being self-first, or they have a problem with Black women encouraging other Black women to expand their dating options, a lot of those Black men have dated and married across racial lines. Okay? That's the crazy thing to me. But that's about wanting access to the womb. It's like the most ridiculous thing to me. Like, I have not ever come across a Black woman in an interracial relationship who looks at other Black women and says, oh no, you should only date Black men. See how dumb that sounds? Because it's like, okay, but what about your situation? That's how a lot of them do. They will openly acknowledge that they prefer non-Black women while telling you as a Black woman that you shouldn't date outside of the race. Because they want to be able to fall back on you if that other relationship doesn't work out. That's true, Traveling Diva. We do age gracefully as Black women. And I do believe that time is on our side. Tap. So therefore, your opinion is not valuable to me, but again, not speaking for the others. Okay, and he said he respects that. Okay, so at least he's not trolling. That's cool. Black women do age gracefully. People think I'm 10 years younger than my real age all the time. That's good. I am richly melanated. Yeah, as long as we take care of ourselves, we age well. You know, I'm not gonna lie though. I've seen some of us as Black women are wearing the struggle on our face. Okay. But yeah, when we take care of ourselves, you know, and we stay in good health, we don't keep ourselves around negative and dramatic, stressful situations, we naturally age gracefully. I mean, even look at Cicely Tyson. She's in her 90s. To me, she looks beautiful. You know, she's just aging with a lot of grace. And the way she styles herself is just. So you're right. Yeah, hyper fanatic. We do age well. Okay, Black Rose. Yeah, you told Era Black as long as he's respectful, no issues. That's cool. Black women shoot ourselves in the foot being okay with being placed on the back burner by Black men who run around with everyone else before he maybe settles for us. Very true. I am richly melanated. Very true. And it's just strange to me that this is actually a conversation that we have to have. And a conversation that has been necessary for years. Like, well over a decade. There have been Black women saying, like, you know, it doesn't benefit you to willfully be the back burner chick. That's true, hyper fanatic. There are a lot of. Okay, oh, you say Black British men only find mixed race or non-Black women attractive. I think, honestly, that's the majority of Black men worldwide. Yep, don't waste your youth and beauty on Dusty DeQuan. Thankfully, slow aging is on our side. We really don't have to settle for that garbage. That's true. I am richly melanated. Yes, Black Rose. There are some Black men that are in relationships with Black women and they still talk trash. Yep. Some of them have YouTube channels. I've seen Black guys walk around with shirts saying, wow, I love white girls. One got upset when my Black friend turned him down. So he shouted at her that she's Black and ugly. Wow. And he only likes white women. You know, they do that when they get rejected. Let me tell y'all something. A lot of Black men cannot handle rejection. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because of these Black women that are clinging to them. So I think a lot of Black men assume that all Black women are going to be that way. And they get very upset when you turn them down. You know, there are actually Black men that get on social media and complain because random Black women that they don't know or have no relationship with won't smile at them in public. Like, they legit get mad about that. But that's how they do. They go from approaching you and trying to holla to, being really nasty when you turn them down. But see, it was good that she turned him down, because I believe that when people are upset, they kind of show you how they truly feel. So if she had given him a chance, he'd have been a guy that just strung her along and wouldn't have valued her, because his true desire is for white women. Black women do a lot of supporting that behavior. They financially and socially support men who are not loyal way too much. This is what you get when the men never experience any pushback or consequences. That is so true, Chasby. That is so true. I mean, continue to support men who make it clear that they don't like Black women. And then when you try to point that out to some Black women, you'll actually have Black women say, well, their personal choices don't mean that I can't support their business. And it's like, okay, this is a man who literally views you as worthless and has said that on several occasions, but you're supporting him. I have seen that not only with celebrities, I've seen that with YouTube channels. And don't get me wrong, people can give their support wherever they want to give it. But I have noticed that when you try to call that out with Black women, their response will be, oh, you're just trying to, make this about their personal choices. And it's like, no. Like, dude has literally said he doesn't like Black women. He feels like we're worthless. Or in the case of some of these men with social media platforms, he feels like Black men should go halfway across the world to find women. And you giving him money is giving him money to go on those trips or to save up and wealth build for another group of women. It's the most self-defeating, self-hating behavior that I have ever seen in a group of women. How Black women will support the very men who wouldn't spit on them if they were on fire. Support the very men who laugh at Black women who experience any type of hardship or drama, or who belittle the accomplishments of successful Black women. These guys are so obsessed with talking about Oprah. You would think that like she personally took money or opportunities from them. But the real problem with her is that she is a successful Black woman. And unfortunately, a lot of Black women refuse to acknowledge that a lot of the Black men that they support hate Black women. You have to hate Black women to say some of the things that these guys say. And, and when they're saying these things, they're not talking about a handful of Black women. They're talking about us as a collective. They just happen to think that if they meet you and you're a nice woman and you're a Black woman, a lot of them will just think that you're nice for a Black woman, but they still won't see you as valuable or worthy. I'm telling you, I got an old video. I just saw the comment today. This guy, I believe he's a Black man, and this guy straight up said, well, why would even an ugly man with money go for a top-notch Black woman when he can get a top-notch woman of another race? Why? Because a lot of these Black men feel that even the most quality Black women are not of the same value as women of other races. That is how these Black men feel. And for Black women to literally see that in front of their faces and deny it and not support it, it's like, okay, if you can't see what's obvious, I gotta put some distance there. Because what that means is if this Black man was doing something hurtful to me or another Black woman or to a Black child, those are the type of Black women that would overlook it. Those are the type of Black women who would be like the brat and say, oh yeah, R. Kelly needs help, but I'm still going to listen to his music. Them type of bitches. So you're absolutely right. We do support a lot of the behavior. And so when I say we, I don't mean those of us who are divested, but Black women as a collective that support that behavior are just as guilty as the men that they support. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said it happened in real life, and it's not just on social media. Yep, which is why you go hard for divesting. I don't blame you. I am richly melanated. Because what a lot of people on here have to understand is that these guys are simply saying what a lot of Black men think. It's just that as some of their platforms have grown larger, okay, they realize that for branding purposes, it's not beneficial for them to be as open about how they feel. And also any man in business, because women, we tend to understand this anyway, but men in business tend to learn very quickly that your biggest consumers are going to be women. So a lot of these men, I believe, understand that in order for them to be able to get the branding, the advertising, and other financial support that they want, they have to tone down some of the rhetoric. And it feels almost like a form of betrayal to me that there are so many Black women just as a collective. And I'm not even really talking about social media, but it's a form of betrayal to me that there are so many Black women that will help these guys tone down their rhetoric, because what it's going to do is that's going to deceive a lot of Black women. But this is how these dudes really feel. I mean, if you have enough Black men in your family, think about the way that they have treated the women that they've dated. And so this is, and even the ones who won't tell you that this is how they feel, you can watch what they do in their lives and see that it's how they feel. And see, that's one thing that Black men do with us that we don't do with them. Black men don't pay that much attention, and this is men in general. A lot of men don't pay much attention to what women say. They pay attention to how we move and to our behaviors and life choices to get an idea of how we really think and feel or where our moral standards are. A lot of Black women don't do that with Black men. We don't look at these men's behaviors to get an idea of how they think and feel. It's unfortunate. Most of the women who say that are single can't keep a man and don't follow their own advice. That's true, Black Rose. Now, it's one thing to want to be single, right? If you're single because you want to be single, that's fine, right? But if you want a relationship and the advice that you're giving isn't working for you, then why would you tell other women to do something that hasn't been beneficial to you? Black women aren't owned by any race, ethnicity. Men think they can use Black women for hump, pump, leave baby, and dump. Yep, that is over. That's very true, Mikael. And I'm telling you, we have to stand firm on this, because the way For those of you who are single, you got to understand something. The way that you allow Black men to treat you is the way that other groups of men will treat you. If men see that you don't have standards, they're automatically going to place you in a certain category. So we have to take responsibility for that and say, you know what? You're not going to use me as your back burner chick. Chasby says, how do you keep a man? That's the point. You can't really keep. You can't keep what's been kept, what doesn't want to be kept. I just more so took it as like, some of the women that give advice against divestment and say, well, if you do those same things, you'll be able to get, a top tier Black man. They say that, but that hasn't worked for them. Yep. Hyperfanatic. They were together 21 years before he married her. He said, you have a girlfriend right now who's dated her Black man for almost 10 years before he finally proposed. And she has to wait a couple more years to get married. Wow, I am richly melanated. So he's just stalling her. Because see, what some of those guys will do, I'm going to leave that alone. But I'll just say that hopefully he follows through with it. But I've seen situations where guys will use that as a stalling tactic. And I have seen Black men talk about how they do that. One of my friends, he has a Facebook group, and there literally was a guy in the group who said that. He said basically that there are some women that guys like enough. Like, say a man has a girlfriend, right? And he has a certain amount of feelings for her. He likes her, and he doesn't want the relationship to be over, but he already knows that he doesn't want to marry her. Maybe he's observed certain things, or maybe he's in love with somebody else, or whatever. He literally said that there are some guys that what they do is they know that around the 4 or 5 year mark, you're going to start wanting marriage, right? To me, anything more than 2.5 years is a long time to wait if marriage is important to you. But he said they know that around the 4 or 5 year mark, you're going to want to get married. So he said there are some guys that will propose to a woman, and they know that once they propose to her, they have another few years. So what I will say is that, because I know now there are a lot of women who say that marriage is not important to them. So I would just say, if marriage is not important to you, then that's cool. We are only talking about women who want to be married, who want to fall in love, get married, and have stability, a stable, committed, healthy marriage. Okay? Okay, Chaspy, you said you're talking about, Black Rose Wide Awake said, Chaspy, okay, you were talking about the mammies. They can't keep anything down, but are quick to tell everyone else how to live and screw. That's a good point. You said motherhood should be expensive. Black women need to charge more for it. They give Black men who are not worthy children. That's true, Chasby. Because at one time, having children was viewed as, giving a man a child was viewed as a special thing. It was viewed as a gift, because you're giving him the gift of longevity. You're giving him the gift of being able to carry himself into the next generation, the gift of a legacy. But a lot of people don't see it that way now, and it's not beneficial to us as Black women at all. You said women, especially black women, have the equivalent to heaven on earth between our legs for men, but we give it away for free and cheap. And that's why, yep, that's why niggas are entitled and don't want us to leave. That's true. I am richly melanated. That's very true. Let me go. Okay, good. I thought I had deleted something in error. That's very true. We don't see the value in ourselves. And that's why we give it away freely. Okay, a lot of black males are cheating on their Beckys with black women for sex. Yep. The black puss is powerful as hell, and black women out here giving it out for less than pennies. Yes, it's like that's a good point. I am richly melanated. Like it's almost like so many black women just hate themselves. Do you know what I mean? And that is just really, really sad. But, it's unfortunate, but black women who think like that are also kind of difficult to be around if you are a black woman who is self first, because those are the black women who will look at you and tell you that you're selfish for putting your needs first. Good morning, I Can Care Less. It's good to see you. You said some men use women until they come across the woman they really want. They use the other woman as placeholders and last options. That is very true, Mika. That is very, very true. That's like the security blanket syndrome. They have a certain woman that they like her enough to keep her around and to maybe be in their feelings a little bit if she moves on with her life. But they don't like her enough to not see what else is out there. So what they do is they keep that woman around, and they give her enough to give her hope, but they're really putting their real time and effort into the women that they really want. And if any of those women ride off with them into the sunset, then Old Faithful, as I call the women who are security blankets, Old Faithful is left alone. Is left alone to deal with her heartbreak. You said black women are loyal to black men for no reason beyond conditioning and sex. That's true, Chaspy. You said you hate to say this, but the majority of black women need to be left on the wayside. In order to save black girls, they need to be removed from these type of females. That's a good point. I can care less. It's unfortunate, but that's a very, very good point. Because if a woman is fully grown and there's some stuff that you still have to explain to her, it's just not going to get through. It's just not. Oh, I didn't know that. They don't like renting to black women with black maids. That's interesting, Chaspy. But it makes sense. I have known some couples, where every couple of months, one person's moving out and then moving back in, but it goes back to when you can't handle your personal responsibilities, it makes people not want to deal with you. The Handmaid's Tale. Isn't that a TV show, Chaz? I've heard people talk about that. I know it was a book, but I wonder if they made it into a TV show. Oh, wow. You said that just happened to a girl that tried to move where you live. She got livid as hell. Really, Black Rose? Well, That's interesting. You said who? Yep, who wants to have people tearing up shit? That's true. I can care less. But I think more of us have to think that way. Like, when you live in a way where you are not in control of your personal situation, or you're not taking control of your personal situation, it makes people want nothing to do with you. It makes people say, you know what, I don't want to live around people who are going through that type of drama. That happened to one of my old coworkers. She had a guy she was dating. They were going through a lot. But one day it was scary because he came up to the job and would not leave. And I don't know exactly what was going on in their home situation, but she was afraid to go outside and talk to him. So we called the cops on him to get him to leave. Because our main office, you can be badged in, like, to the reception area, but you can't actually go into the workspaces, beyond the reception area, unless you get someone who is in the building to sign you in, and then you get a visitor's badge. And she did not want to be around him. She wouldn't tell us why, so we just called 911 because he refused. He refused to leave the reception area. And I remember thinking to myself, like, that could have been a really, really dangerous situation for the women who worked in the reception area, because we didn't have like armed security in the building at that time. So a lot of people don't realize when their home life is jacked up, it makes people view you as a liability. That's very true. The collective of Black women don't see themselves as worthy. When I say we need to have more Black babies, they really said we need to have more Black male babies. We don't need. That's interesting. I can care less. Oh, when they say, they do want there to be more Black male children. They don't want Black women dating and marrying non-Black men, right? But they claim to dislike the out-of-wedlock birth rates, but they also don't like reproductive health for Black women. They laugh about the out-of-wedlock birth rates, but then they say it's not Black men's responsibility to build a family or a community structure for Black women. I'm telling you, they just want Black women here to just pop out babies without providing a community structure that would hold those people accountable for getting married and establishing a family. That's how it was back in the day. In those old school, like really country Black communities, back in the day, you were shunned. If you were out here just having a bunch of kids and not being married, you were shunned. And if you were a man who knocked up some other dude's daughter and you were refusing to marry his daughter, that father would pull up on you with a gun. That's where they get the term shotgun weddings from. That's real. If you have older Black family members from the Deep South, okay, that are old enough to remember, they will tell you that. Back in the day, they didn't play that. You weren't going to be a little fast-ass girl out here just popping out a bunch of babies, 8, 9, 10 kids. I literally, y'all saw that story about that woman that had 15 kids by a bunch of different fathers. Back in the day, that would not happen. And if it did happen, it wouldn't be socially acceptable. Or like that guy, I think down in Memphis, that had like 30 something kids. They didn't let people do that back in the day. You said a lot of Black women are not loving, caring, and respectful towards each other. When they see another Black woman, especially if she's happy, they would do anything to kill her. That's an interesting point. I can care less. After seeing some of the conversations I've seen, I believe that. I've literally seen Black women laugh about Black women being in painful situations. And I'm talking about these situations that made national news where, like, a man has fought a Black woman, or otherwise assaulted her. And sometimes you will even see Black women basically downplaying what happened to that woman and trying to find every reason in the world to say she deserved what happened to her. And I'm like, okay, it's one thing to point out behavior that needs to be corrected. It's quite another thing to say that a woman deserves to be attacked. Yeah, hyperfanatic. He was stupid. That's right. I keep forgetting that soccer is called football, like everywhere else. Yep, they want to pump and dump Black women with Black male babies because without us, there are no Black males, and then they run off to Becky and other races once born. And think about the craziness of that, like wanting access to the majority of Black women's wombs to create a group of children that the so-called community will then teach to hate the very woman that birthed them. And that is part of a conversation that other women in BWE spaces have had for years. And that conversation has been, a lot of the talking points have been purposefully twisted by people who hate divested Black women. But yeah, to your point, I am richly melanated. That is where they were going with that. That we have to be careful to be sure that we are not creating children who will grow up with the same mindsets that are pervasive amongst Black people now. You said you were accidentally on a pro-Black male channel, and they were talking about the hood rats who wear bonnets and scarves to their children's school and look like hobos. The Black men were saying that's how all Black women are. Wow. Black men view Black women as white men view Black people. That's very true. That's very true. They're very biased and prejudiced against Black women. Okay, so you said the landlord doesn't like those type of tenants because of the drama they bring, and they're less likely to pay rent. Yeah, because in some of those situations, if you're living with someone and you need both of your incomes, right, and y'all are always in a situation where, anytime he stays out past a certain time of night, you don't want him there, then your rent's late because y'all had an argument, and so he left and stayed with his mom for 3 days and then paid his portion of the rent. Now the rent's behind. Yes. Black women do too much listening to Black men, only believe actions, not words. That's very true, Chasby. And a lot of Black women are misunderstanding the concept of submission to men. I have heard Black women, and being if you are a Black woman who believes in any of the Abrahamic traditional religions, right? There are certain views about submission to men that those religions practice. But a lot of Black women who are Christians don't understand submission. Because when the Bible talks about submission to men, it says, wives, submit to your husband. Okay? But a lot of Black women are putting themselves in submission to men that they are not actually married to. Okay? Because you'll see Black men in these spaces say, oh, well, Black women need to learn to listen to us. But it's like, okay, A, you got to be very careful who you let speak over your life. Okay? But B, the concept of biblical submission for women is when you're talking about marriage. But a lot of Black women on YouTube and other forms of social media believe that they should submit to Black men's opinions simply because they're a woman and he's a man. That's just I'm gonna just put that out there. I know some people, who are not divested may come across that and will have a problem with it, but it's the truth. But I hear a lot of Black women say, oh no, we need to listen to Black men's opinions because we're supposed to submit to Black men. That's what the Bible tells me. It's like, no, it doesn't. It says, wives, submit to your husband, not to an entire collective of men. You said Black women choose to be undesirable. Some of them don't want to keep their weight down. They don't want to keep their look up. They'll settle for any Black man. That's the point. I can care less. That's why you have so many Black women really arguing about this whole headscarf and bonnet thing. They don't want to adhere to the dress code of a business space. Well, if you think about it, there are a lot of businesses that have a basic dress code. You can't walk into 7-Eleven or any other convenience store in a see-through shirt, right? You can't do that in most business establishments. Most clubs, bars, and lounges have dress codes as well. Black men think no one wants Black women because Black women are loyal. Yep. They don't view Black women waiting for Black men as loyalty. They think it's because no one wants Black women. That's very true, Chasby. That's very true. You said Black women are everything and everybody wants their own. Don't believe the false hype. Era Black, unfortunately, is not false hype because, again, all you have to do is look at the statistics and look at what's starting to happen with Black men's marital patterns. The fact that a lot of them aren't getting married at all, and then more of them, when they do get married, are marrying non-Black women. Yes, people will say, well, yeah, still the majority of them marry Black women, but nearly a quarter of them, when they marry, don't. Which means that, along with the fact that we outnumber Black men, means that you're going to have a group of Black women who would never get married for those who want marriage, they would never get married if they only connected themselves to Black men. Yep, us divested Black women are the minority. Time for those who are hard of hearing to go. That's true. I am richly melanated. Hey, you're watching with popcorn and wine. That's good, Black Rose. Black women being loyal doesn't help. It would be better if we dated out. That's very true, Chasby. I'm telling you, Looking undesirable and acting like you don't have options only runs men away. A lot of men only pursue women that they perceive as being highly sought after. That's why so many Black men are obsessed with non-Black women. You know, because there are some non-Black women who will date the men of their own race and other races of men, right? So an average looking non-Black woman can be seen as highly desirable if she's working within all of the options that are available to her. And Black women can do the same thing. We can do the same thing. We just refuse to do it. You said Black women will date any Black man. He could be a pedophile, rapist, serial killer. She just has to have a Black man. Some Black women are not worthy of love, marriage, and respect. I can see your point. I can care less. I mean, a Black woman who chooses to cling to unhealthy situations and patterns, you know, is going to get what she chooses. That's a good point. You said we all fall victim to competition, male and female. Man wants to be first in a woman's life, not the next. Era Black, but this doesn't boil down to competition. You know, this boils down to the fact that you have a collective who simply don't value their own group of women. Okay? And I think to call it competition is really, I think that's disingenuous, to be honest. Because Black women, we can compete when we expand our options. It's just that in any situation, people do this, right? Say you're dating multiple people and there's two that you really like. There's one that you know has been around for like 6 years. You know they love you to death. So you can reasonably assume that they're not going to go anywhere. Then the other one you like, you know, she's got like 3 or 4 men trying to talk to her. Sometimes what people in that situation will do, sometimes what men in that situation will do, is they will go for the woman who they feel like they have to pursue to keep her around, because they're not going to put that energy into the woman that they feel like is not going to go anywhere. That's what's happening to Black women as a collective. You have a lot of Black men who know how loyal Black women are to Black men, because we're very open about that loyalty. And so because of that, if you have a Black man who's inclined to date other races of women, he'll feel like, okay, I got about a good 5 to 10 years to see what I can find over here. And if I can't find anything over here, I can come back to Black women. I've actually heard Black men say that in certain parts of the country, there are so many Black women available that they don't see the need to settle down with any one particular Black woman. Even if they come across a Black woman that is their ideal, they don't feel a need to settle down with her, because they'll literally say, well, you know, there's 1,000 more like her. So if it doesn't work out with her, I can just find another. So Black men who think that way, they're not looking for relationships based on chemistry, compatibility, and all that stuff. They're basically saying, oh yeah, I can find a cute Black chick any day of the week, so I'm gonna go over here and see what's up. Now, if more of that pool of Black women expanded their dating options, then maybe you'd see more Black men saying, okay, well, you know what? I've met this cool Black chick. Let me see what's up with her, because I could come back in 10 years and there won't be too many more like her around. Because what happens with other races of people is that the older you get, the less viable options you have, because people are naturally getting married and settling off into long-term relationships, because those women tend to expand their options. So by the time they're into their, say, 30s, 40s, and 50s, more of them are married. Whereas with Black women, because we tend to be so loyal to one specific group of men, and in the younger years, right, say under 30 or 40, where most other women are being snatched up into marriages, we're open and available and single. Maybe we get in and out of relationships, but we're largely single. And so you have this pool of Black women that's so loyal that they're still available into their older ages, which makes Black men feel like they don't really have to rush, into building a family and a stable, committed, loving marriage with a Black woman if he meets her, if he comes across her. So it's not about competition. It's the fact that we're making ourselves so available to Black men that they don't feel a need to rush to settle down with us. Yeah, hyperfanatic. As much as Donald gets on my nerves, he was married with all them children. I think all of his kids, right? I think he had most of his kids with what's her name? The first wife, Ivana. And then I think Tiffany is from Marla Maples, right? Yeah, and then Barron is with Melania. So, all his kids are the product of marriage, and that is what conservatives make a point of mentioning. And you notice they've also made it a point to mention that he is still close with his first wife. And she's even done interviews saying that. And Marla Maples, they've pretty much made it a point to say, well, he was involved with all of his children. He's still very close to the first wife. He may not have the same closeness with the second wife, but things are amicable. They made it a point to do that so that his personal life wouldn't be seen as so messy that he would be someone that people didn't want to do business with. You said Black men are always trying to tell us what to do and say when we're in our spaces. You said, like, nigga, get lost and keep your hurt male feelings to yourself. Black males have the biggest biggest egos. I see your point. I am richly melanated. You said only 10 to 30% of Black American women will date and marry out. There is no hope for 70% of the Black female collective. Yep, they do have a Black male identified mindset. I can care less. And my thing is, like, if their preference is Black men, right, that's cool. But don't try to control what other women do. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be so male-minded that you're worried about another woman's dating and mating choices. Like, that's the weird part to me. You said niggas need to stay out of women's spaces, period. I am richly melanated. I see your point. Because from what I've observed, I don't see, unless I've just missed it, I don't see Black women who are self-first, like, arguing in comment sections on Black men's channels. Yep. Men do look irresponsible when they can't handle their personal lives, hyperfanatic, and so do we as women. You said a lot of those marriages in the 50s and early 60s were forced. I can care less. That's true. A lot of shotgun weddings in the past. You said era, that's the way it should be, but sadly a great majority don't see it that way. That's true, Black Rose. Majority of Black men don't feel that way. You said Black girls and Black boys need to be separated from an early age. You agree with EA about that? I can care less. Yeah, that would definitely help when it comes to the teasing. A lot of Black girls are mercilessly teased by other Black children. I think I mentioned it a few live streams ago, but there's a girl, like a little 8 or 9 year old black girl, and some kids held her down and like shaved off like almost half of her hair. Like they parted her hair from ear to ear and shaved it off. Yes, you said a lot of black people can't keep their personal business to themselves. Yes, that's why so many of us are screwed in life. That is so true, Black Rose. I'm telling y'all, your coworkers do not want to hear about your personal business. And even if they like it for gossiping purposes, I'm telling you, it makes them view you as someone that they don't want to do business with, or as someone that they don't want to represent them at a high level. You know? That's very true, Black Rose. You said black women don't have any friends in the black community. The sooner they realize that, the better. Yep. That's true. I can care less. Because anytime you have a conversation to focus on black women and the issues that affect us, you see very quickly that we have no friends, even amongst other black people. You said a lot of this dating out is to get back at black women. They need black women to care and live off of the attention black women give them. Yes. Do you think these men don't know how black women are going to respond when they say crazy shit? That's true, Chasby. I think that, there's a lot going on in the US society that feeds off of black women's energy. So I'm starting to wonder, like, say you have, you see these non-black women and they'll wear certain hairstyles, and black women will call that out and will call it cultural appropriation. And you'll see the same thing on certain high-end fashion runways. And I'm starting to wonder if these companies and these celebrities are doing that over and over again because they're making money off of our outrage. Like, I wonder, when those companies do that, do other people start buying the products? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, they're doing this way too much. And then even the outrage that we express at black men dating out, a lot of black women don't realize it, but by giving black men that much attention, we're actually giving the perception that they have a higher value on the dating market than they actually have. So, see, I'll put it to you like this. In my opinion, there are some non-black women that are only interested in black men because they see the attention that we give black men when they date out. And so they say, well, there must be something of value if they're this upset about it. Right? Because I've seen the opposite. There's a channel I came across where it is a non-black guy, and I guess he's like red pilled or MGTOW. And in one of his videos, he was like, well, I've heard black men talk about how they don't want black women, so why would I want one? And it's like, see, these black men publicly downplay black women, and they're doing that for a reason. They do it because they don't want other men to value us, because they know that men only want what is viewed as highly sought after. So if black men can create this impression that we're not valuable and we're not wanted, and so many of us are suckers, and so we buy into it, then by buying into it, we're contributing to the downplaying of our own value, while also increasing black men's value because we pay so much attention to what they're doing with their personal dating choices. So that's a very interesting point, Chaz. You said you went on your channel and asked them to give their black daughters up for adoption, and they didn't like me. Really, I can care less. That's interesting because I mean, a lot of the things that they promote and teach would not be beneficial to their daughters. So that's an interesting point. Okay, you said many black women who deal with black men look rough and tired because of the drama. Hyperfanatic, that's what I was saying earlier in the stream. When we were talking about black women and aging, many of us age very well, but some of us don't because we're wearing all of the struggle and all of the drama that we have willfully participated in on our faces. You said those black females who are full of drama need to stay with their black kings and stay the hell away from us. That's true. I can care less. WTF said, this is a troll account. If you divested from black men, why do you all care? I mean, you could say the same thing about black men who only date non-black women, right? You could ask them why they spend so much time having conversations about black women. You know? They could be asked that very same question. But we get to have conversations about people who are talking about us, okay? You know, no one goes onto these channels where they're having conversations about why they disagree with black women who are self first. No one goes onto those channels and says, well, if you don't like them, then why are you talking about them? No one looks at these black men who are in relationships and marriages with non-black women and who say that they don't like black women at all. No one looks at those men and says, well, if you don't like black women or you're saving yourselves from black women, then why do you talk about them so much? Why? Because people understand that when people get on any form of social media, that part of your audience is going to be people who don't think like you, right? So if you're having conversations encouraging black women to be self first, some of the people listening will be black women who are not self first. And so you have to speak to that demographic because some of them will understand what you're saying. Okay? You said you think men have to stop really competing for women because of the amount and go hard. You said you think women are positioning themselves for the guy they like and want. That's an interesting point, Era Black. I mean, you know, I'll just say it like this. In some parts of the country, black women outnumber black men so much that I don't get the impression that a lot of black men are dating for marriage and relationships. You know, they're dating to see how many attractive women they can have sex with. Whereas a lot of black women, I believe, even black women who are not dating for marriage, a lot of black women are at least dating for commitment and stable relationships. And so if you're dating for commitment and stable relationships, or you're dating for the purpose of marriage, and your primary dating group of men is a group of men who don't want that with you. You know, they want to see how many of you they can have sex with, but they don't want relationships and marriages with you, then your wants and desires aren't compatible with that particular group. That's a good point. Why do black women continue to call black men sexy when black men don't do the same for black women? That annoys the hell out of me. Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize that when you uplift something that's not doing the same thing for you, it makes you look desperate. You look desperate while you're just increasing that other person's value. But you see black women who do talk about how much they love the way that black men look. And that's fine if that's your preference. All I'm saying is that more black women should understand that when we do that, and then the men's response is, well, they don't really like black women and they prefer non-black women. It's like, why wouldn't that be a turnoff to you for you to be complimenting someone only for them to basically turn around and slap you in the face? Oh, you said you think women are chasing the men they want and dissing the rest. That's not true, Era Black. That's not true at all. I've seen black women give some really questionable men a chance. So I think that when it comes to dealing with black men, black women are very compromising. A lot of black women will date a man based on his potential. A lot of black women will date black men that frankly are not worthy of relationships, because they're men who have not built anything for themselves, and they are men. They're dealing with a segment of men who have not shown that they would be good providers or good fathers. And so I don't think that black women chase men. I think that there are a lot of black women who will accept whatever black man gives them a chance. Okay? Because we're so loyal and committed to black men that we don't date based on our ideal desires. So you have a lot of black women who ideally would want a man who's financially stable, and maybe has certain other attributes, right? But if a guy with less money or a guy with no job comes along and pays enough attention to her and talks to her the right way, a lot of black women will give those guys a chance. So I don't even think we're chasing, our ideal men. We're accepting whatever comes along when it comes to black men. And you can see that in the way that some of these relationships play out, where even the most undesirable black men end up with decent or quality black women. You say it seems like they end up with the bottom of the barrel white women that no white man wanted. That's true, right, oh boy? I do think that for a lot of the black men that put non-black women on a pedestal, they don't care what non-black woman they get. If she's not black, they automatically assign value to her. Yep. Tay Diggs blamed black women because he was with a white woman, which is stupid. That's very true, hyper fanatic. I would have respected him more if he just said, that was who he happened to fall in love with, or that was his preference or whatever. Because listen, in real everyday life, I have not seen black women turn down even mildly attractive black men. I just haven't seen that, unless these guys are, trying to get 9s and 10s when they're only, maybe average looking. But yeah. Yes, you said other women don't support disloyal men. Even white women with black partners don't support white men doing it. That's true, Chaz. I have seen if a white woman is with a black guy and then she sees a black woman with a white man, and that white man is of a higher social status than her black partner, that white woman will get mad about it. And I have, if you not troll, but look around on some of those white supremacist channels, you'll see white women in the comment sections. White supremacist, alt-right white women will not give their support to white men who uplift other groups of women. And this includes the white men who prefer Asian women. They will not throw their financial support to those men. WTF. I thought that was her. I am richly melanated, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. As long as it, not sure. As long as it's not too far, I won't block her. But if it's not her, it's someone using her picture. You said we shall judge black men in the same ways that they judge us. You said they're drug addicts. Right, and not all of them have big peens. That's very true. Yeah, I think she's on her troll shit, Kay Johnson, but it's okay. It's okay. You said, yep, black men don't even like quality black women. It's time black women wake up. That's very true, hyperfanatic. A lot of them don't. And that's why I encourage black women to, if you're single, consider expanding your options. Because I'm telling you, sometimes it doesn't matter how many hoops you jump through. If a guy walks into a situation assuming that you have little value simply because of your skin color, then it doesn't matter what you do or how amazing you are, that man will not see value in you. You said being black and or pro-black is special. Arab Black, we don't, as a collective, treat it that way. If the collective of black people saw value in ourselves, then you would see more black people who promoted family and community structure and marriage, family planning. You would see more black men who felt like a responsibility to build that, and you would see more black women who saw enough value in themselves to require that and to not give, excuse me, frankly, to stop giving black men an all access pass to their wombs. You said they support black men who bash black women because these black women hate themselves as well as other black women. They're mad because they blew their shot and misery loves company. That's true, Black Rose. Unfortunately, a lot of black women, I don't know if I said it here or my other channel, but a lot of us as black women don't see value in ourselves. Hold on one second. I'm going to take a sip of water. Okay. Hopefully I sound a little better. I felt like I was sounding a little scratchy. But a lot of us as black women, we don't see ourselves in each other. And so we just don't like each other for some reason. It's unfortunate. And you'll see some black women who have been through a bad situation, And instead of saying, okay, I want to encourage other Black women to not make the same mistakes that I made, they will basically encourage other Black women to do the same effed up things that they did. And I'm like, okay, if that's not hatred, like, if I don't know what it is, because that's like someone wanting you to experience misery because they did. He said Black women are largely responsible for making Black Panther one of the highest grossing movies ever. Oh, the Black men showed up to the premiere wearing African garb and non-Black women. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I have to confess, Chastity, I got caught up into the hype of Black Panther. I really, really did. Because some of our nieces and nephews are really young. So I was like, oh, this is going to be so good for them to see Blackness promoted in this way. But then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, a lot of the men in this movie, you know, they're not even checking for Black women. But yet, they're not checking for Black women, but they will promote certain images in their roles to make money off of us. And if Black women, as a collective, if we really cared about ourselves and each other, we would require like a real life version of Wakanda. You know what I'm saying? It's like we get so hyped over images instead of requiring the real thing. You said the Black man's money belongs to white and not Black women. Black men will leave nothing. Yep, because non-Black communities get rich off of their stupidity. Oh, okay, Johnson, you think she needs to be blocked? I see your point. I'm going to tell you guys something that has been communicated to me before. Apparently people think I'm too trigger happy with the block. But yeah. You said you've never seen Black Panther. And you don't support Black men who disrespect Black women. I don't blame you, hyperfanatic. I don't blame you. I mean, it was just so disappointing to see that kind of movie and then to see so many of the Black male characters were not even with Black women. It's like, okay, so promoting Black excellence and Black greatness and Black love to Black women to make money to give to another group of women. Yes, Black women only need to support those men who support and marry Black women. I think we're at that point. Yeah. You said you didn't miss much. You were disappointed with Black Panther, Black Rose. That's interesting you said that because I like the visuals for Black Panther were amazing. I don't know what they call that. I don't know if that's what's called cinematography. I don't know. I'm just going to say the visuals, and all of the technology that they had in the movie and stuff. That was really cool. I'll put it to you like this. The people who should have stood out as lead characters didn't. So, for example, I did like Letitia Wright's character. That I think it was Shuri. I like the little sister's character. I love seeing Angela Bassett. I think Forrest Whitaker is a great actor. Of course, he wasn't in the movie very long. And the guy from I don't know if they called it, that made like the wolf noises, that character was kind of funny. Although I don't think he's with a black woman though. I think I saw a picture of his girlfriend. And then what was the character that stood out to me, and I think to a lot of people, was Killmonger. And I was telling my husband, I was like, I think that the standout character in that movie was supposed to be Black Panther. Like, that's what I noticed. Like, that's a good point that you made, Black Rose. Like, the character that should have stood out didn't stand out. And I don't know if maybe it was, and I don't know, maybe it's because of what they represented, right? The African versus the Black people who were part of the diaspora because of slavery. I don't know if maybe it was that thing, but I don't think that T'Challa's character stood out as much as he was supposed to. But outside of that, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I fell into the hype of it all. I did. But I grew out of it when I saw the pictures of their partners. I was like, oh, see? Happens every time. Every time you try to support a movie with a positive Black theme, all of the Black men end up not being with Black women. Yeah, you said they support hateful Black men because they hate and despise Black women and girls. That's true. I can care less. Era Black TV, you said for Black men, relationship is more about lifestyle. Yeah, but see, I think that Black men who try to attract a certain tier of non-Black women know how to be traditional men when they're going after the women that they really want. So I don't think that Black women should settle for less than what any group of men, including Black men, would give to other women. Stability, commitment, loyalty, love, financial security. These are all basic concepts when it comes to relationships, and men understand that when they're dealing with other women. But Black women are expected to take less. Yeah, I can care less. She did say that these type of Black women need to be wiped out. They go first. Virgo Sun. Her channel still here. She changed the name. I think it's called Divine Beingness, but she still makes videos. Okay, Era Black, you said men look for women that fit into their lifestyle. If a woman has a lifestyle that doesn't fit in with his, or one that he can't control, then basically he doesn't see value in her. That's what you're saying, Era Black. Okay. You said you agree with Virgo Sun. Her messages are always on point. Very true. I am richly melanated. That's very true. You said men may chase but settle for just what works for him, Era Black. I don't believe that. I think men chase what they want and then settle for what they can actually get. You said they are evil, demonic, and poisonous to Black women and girls. And you said there are Black women who hate innocent, dark-skinned Black girls and light-skinned Black women who don't fit. That's very true. That's very true. It's weird. I can care less because on the one hand, their hatred of dark-skinned Black girls, in my opinion, stems from the fact that they don't like, and these are Black women who are male identified. They don't like They don't like Afrocentric features. They hate their own natural features. And then on the flip side, it's just my opinion, but they hate light-skinned Black women and girls out of jealousy over the perception that lighter women are the Black man's preference. And because those Black women are male identified, instead of calling Black men out for their colorism, they take their rage out on the object of Black men's affection. Low vibrational people, they do have to go because they screwed up for the rest of us. That's true, Black Rose. That's very, very true. You said Black women should not give Black men priority. Black men hold Black women to the European standard of femininity and beauty. Black women need to hold Black men to the European standard when it comes to economics and resources. No dusties. I've never heard it put that way, but that's a good point, Chasby. If we're held to European standards of femininity and beauty, then we should be able to hold men, Black men in particular, to the European standard when it comes to economics and resources. That's very true. You said Black men, you said men don't waste too much time chasing or convincing a woman to be his. That is not true, Era Black. You in here lying on the Lord's day. That is not true. I have seen men, if a man really wants a woman, I have seen a man chase a woman for years. Or these Black men that really put Black or non-Black women on a pedestal, I have seen those men go through 2 and 3 marriages trying to find the right non-Black woman because that's what they want. Don't lie to us now. We're being nice to you. We're letting you be in here, but don't lie to us. I'm telling you. Men, it's some of these men that will chase after a particular woman or a particular type for years. Okay? You said some of them are so-called educated and some of them are poor, but they have no love for Black women at all. Yes, they all talk about white supremacy and it's all the Black woman's fault. That's true. I can care less. They say nothing. They say nothing about the Black man's complicity in the slave trade. And then when they talk about sexual exploitation during slavery, they take the rape and sexual exploitation that Black women and girls endured, and they try to make it our fault. And then they ignore the fact, there are slave narratives. Okay, there are slave narratives where they talk about how Black men were sexually exploited during slavery. And I'm not just talking about bed bucking. I'm talking about how they were sexually exploited by white women. The whole thing of white women using rape accusations as a weapon against Black men started at least as far back as slavery, because what some of those white women on the plantation would do to get Black men to sleep with them is if the Black male slave wouldn't sleep with them, they would accuse them of rape. Yep. Yep, that's true. We could change a lot by simply closing our legs, ignoring them, ignore them like they ignore us, keep our money in our pockets. That's very true. It doesn't take very much to get people to respect you, but a lot of Black women refuse to do that. See, I am richly melanated says she's had men chase her down for years. One guy going on 2 years and he never got the punani. I'm telling you. Men go after what they want. That's just the bottom line. Okay, so for you, you said you said you want marriage, and anything beyond marriage is friends with benefits, Arab Black. You know what? I think that's how a lot of men think. That's why I don't promote certain situations for Black women. And in me saying that, that does not mean that I am like, you know, what's the word? Doesn't mean I'm judging people who are in those situations, but I have heard conversations where a lot of these men are saying that they are single until they're married. So while you have a lot of Black women kind of getting in these situations where it's basically a marriage, well, it's not a marriage, it's an emotional marriage, but it's not a legal marriage. So it's not a real marriage, right? But for those women, they view it as something that is just as serious as a marriage. In the meantime, that man is looking at you and thinking, okay, girl, I'm single until I'm married. So that's an interesting point, Arab. Like, I actually think a lot of men feel that way. You said it's the mammy's fault. They know it, and that's why they're reacting the way they are. That's true, Black Rose. See? That's very true. Men are willing to put in the work for the things they value. And if he doesn't value you. He's using you. That's very true, Chasby. You said get in where you fit in and be happy. That's pretty much the divestment message, Arab Black. Okay, we're telling people go where you're valued and be happy. Yes, a lot of Black mammies are self-loathing. See? They will put in work for something they see as valuable. That's very true. I am richly melanated. You said you're sick of the videos talking about whether or not they like light-skinned girls. I can see your point. I can care less. I mean, I think colorism is a real issue. I just think that we need to be able to have those conversations in ways where we're not hopelessly dividing each other, where it's not becoming a divide that we can't get over. But I do think that dark-skinned women have to we have to stop like trying to convince Black men to want to date us, and just be available to the men that do want to date us. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Wow, you said the pro-Black mammies were encouraging Black women to show up to the school wearing bonnets. See, Chasby? It's crazy. Because in their talking point seems to be, I'm trying to think, because it's hard for me to understand, but their talking point seems to be that as Black people, we're always being told about what is and what isn't appropriate, and that it's almost like they view bonnets as like a cultural thing. And yeah, I don't understand the argument. Like, wearing bonnets will prove what? And ultimately, in encouraging those women to do that, it's also encouraging children that they don't have to follow rules, that they don't have to follow a dress code. And those children will become adults who have a problem following the dress code on their jobs. Oh, Lord, I can care less. Okay, I can care less basically says that mammies need to be tortured for teaching their sons to hate black girls at an early age through their actions. Yeah, it should be treason because it is a type of betrayal. You said the colorism crap is tap dancing on your last good nerve. You said non-black men don't have so many demands. That's true, Chasby, because they don't come from collectives that put them on a pedestal. Do you know what I mean? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think other groups of women have um, a baseline level of respect for the men in their race. But I almost feel like some black women like deify black men, like literally worship them. And that's why they believe that they should be in submission to random black men. And they will have the audacity to use a religious text to support that. You said that happened to you. You had to quit your job. AP. Hey, AP. Haven't seen you in a while. I'm sorry that happened to you. Yeah, hyperfanatic. I wondered if he was physically abusing her. That's why we caught the cops that day when he showed up to the job. Thankfully, she did eventually end up leaving him, but that was a lot. You said you're a humanitarian and pro-black first. You're about people. You said you need a woman to work hard for, or you can't actually be a man. So what if you never meet a suitable woman, Era Black? I think that men in general should build for themselves, and then when you meet a woman that you like enough to pursue for marriage, do you know what I mean? You'll have something in place for her already. Yeah, I thought that was why she refused to meet him outside too, hyperfanatic. I can care less. You are a trip. You said you honestly believe black women have caused. Wait, I think I went too far. Hold on, sorry, y'all. I think I'm like way behind on the comments. Oh boy. I lost my place. Give me a second, y'all. Okay. I'm almost caught up. Okay. Chaz said, I honestly believe black women have caused the collective of black men to have traits of narcissistic personality disorder. Due to all this praising them for doing nothing. Boom, that's very true. You're correct on that, but a lot of black women will not accept that. Yes, look at what they did to KSC when she turned the mirror on them. That's very, very true, Black Rose. Very true. Let's see. Okay. Yep, I agree. I can care less. I don't think we can really afford to stick with one group of men. It's just not helping. You said you were a teenager when Chris Brown assaulted Rihanna. Yes, and there were black women around you who defended Chris Brown and said that she deserved to be assaulted. That's very true, hyperfanatic. Very true. Where would Black boys see Black women being loved and respected growing up? Nowhere. Nowhere. And Chaz, they wouldn't even see Black women as a collective requiring it. That's very true. You said they come up with the stupidest crap just to get the spotlight and cause more drama. But when you look online, who's the most requested women? Who's the most requested dark-skinned women? That's true, Black Rose. You said you had a great mother, but every Black boy doesn't come up in good circumstances. Okay, Era Black, but people don't allow that same excuse for Black women. You know, a lot of Black children come from homes with absentee fathers, with fathers who were not there for the children at all and who made no effort to be there. And yet, Black women are encouraged not to use their personal examples involving Black men with poor behaviors as a reason to mistreat the collective. And so, even if you had a Black man who felt less than positive about his mother, that, in my opinion, wouldn't be an excuse for him to hate the entire group of Black women, since we don't allow Black women to do that. And I would argue that Black women have more of a reason to think poorly of the Black male collective, based on the fact, again, that there have been so many absentee Black fathers, and then because of all of the ways that Black men treat us poorly, and the ways that they represent us, whether it's social media or other places. Yes, Black women are still supporting R. Kelly. Anytime he has a show, he will have an audience full of Black women. You said dark-skinned and brown-skinned Black women who expand the options are the ones getting married. That's a good point. I can care less. Anastasia. I think I mispronounced it. Is it Anastasia or Anastasi? You said you're a Catholic, and you're absolutely right. Christianity makes submission equivalent to femininity, and that's harmful. That's very true, because it's putting women in situations where you have women putting themselves under submission to random men, men that they're not married to, and to men who do not have their best interest at heart. Because from a biblical perspective, it's wives, submit to your husbands, and your husband is in submission to Christ, if that's your belief system, right? So women are only to submit to their husbands as their husbands are in submission to God. So this whole concept that you're supposed to submit to random men online that you don't know and you have no connection to, you don't know what their spirituality is, makes no sense, because what that would mean is that you have no idea what you're putting yourself in submission to. No one said every Black woman was built the same. Era Black, but in all fairness, all Black men are not built the same. Yes, a woman is only, from a biblical perspective, to submit to her husband, and that's only if her husband is in submission to God. Very true. Anastasia. You said Black women forget we live in a system that actively promotes that white is best. Countering that requires we be active, intentional, and use propaganda to counter the main narratives, not uphold them. That's very true, Chaz B. You said you love seeing a dark-skinned, attractive Black woman with a light-skinned, biracial, or non-Black man. I see your point. I can care less because that counters the stereotypes that, phenotypically Black women are undesirable. See, I'll never submit to a male. A man must prove that he's a man first. That's very true. I am richly melanated. And so that whole concept of submission is being miscommunicated on a large scale. Like I said before, you got to be careful to who you let speak over your life. And all of us on social media who make videos, we're all just giving our opinions. So for people to suggest that you should put yourselves in submission to someone who's just giving their opinion simply because that person giving the opinion is a man, and then to misuse, faith systems to promote that is very scary. Okay. You said dark-skinned and brown-skinned Black women are the rejects of the Black community, even though we're the majority, but we're a hot commodity and most desired when we jump the fence. That's true. I am richly melanated. And I'm telling you, a lot of lighter-skinned and biracial Black women, a lot of lighter-skinned Black women and maybe biracial women who identify as Black, maybe I'll say it that way, a lot of them will tell you that they have had the same experiences with Black men, where they're objectified and basically then left for other races of women. And so more of those women, I would suggest, should also expand their dating options. You said you think many Black women believe white is better too. They forget it's the system that's pushing that message out. So we do have the ability to do counter programming. That's a good point, Chasby. It's not just about competition or preference. There's an entire system in place that's pushing a certain narrative. Anastasia said, African Americans have options. I don't understand why they settle. You refuse to be with a man because we're from the same tribe. I didn't marry an African man. My husband is Korean. I refuse to be miserable. That's a good point, Anastasia. That's a very good point. And I do think that, like Black women from other parts of the world do a better job at dating and marrying the best men for the job as opposed to solely focusing on skin color. You said most white guys prefer darker skinned Black women if they date Black women. Okay, you said you've had light skinned Black women or biracials complain that white guys don't like them like that. That's interesting. I'm richly melanated. I do think, like, for most of what I've seen, I have seen like darker or brown skinned Black women, date and marry across racial lines. I'm seeing more lighter skinned Black women do it too. We're going to see more Meghan Markles. That's why Black men got so upset about Meghan Markle, because they're not used to seeing such a high profile marriage involving a biracial woman with a non-Black man, especially because she's a biracial woman with a Black mother. And so they assume that because of her Black mother, she would put Black men on a pedestal. And that's why they got so upset about that. But that's very true. I do think that darker Black women do have a lot of success across racial lines. I know my sister's lighter skinned and her boyfriend's white. Although I think he did tell her that he normally preferred darker skinned girls. But even though she's lighter skinned, her features are very Afrocentric. Do you know what I mean? So it's obvious that she carries the Black phenotype. She's just a lighter shade. You said you want the Black women who have low self-esteem to stay away from Black women and Black girls, particularly Black girls under 18. That's true, because they're messing up a lot of young Black girls' psyche. I can care less. That's true, Anastasia. When white men desire Black women, Black men desire her more. I agree with that. You said those low vibrational women's time will end soon. I agree with that, Black Rose. Black women refuse to use their Blackness to their benefit over being too concerned about being a fetish. Yep, and we are the most exotic but refuse to benefit from it. That's true, Chasby. That's very true. You said Black women refuse to learn from other races. Non-Black women observe each other. That's very true, Anastasia. Anastasia. Yep. There are a lot of Black women that pretty much I can care less will give a Black man the benefits of marriage without requiring that he actually marry her. Black men like Black women when they have no other choices. Yep, Chasby. Hey, Delphia. Using their own women have to risk skin cancer to get my natural glow. True, I am richly melanated. I think we age better. I think we age better than Black men and pretty much everyone else, Chasby. Oh, okay, AP. I must have gotten Trump's first wife's name wrong. Because her name sounds really similar to their daughter. So I always get their names confused. You said Black women can learn a lot from white, Asian, Arabic, and Latina women. You learned everything you know from Russian women, from femininity to hypergamy. That's a good point, Anastasia. I do think we can learn a lot from other groups of women. You said Black men are starting to age at the same rate of white women, Chasby. Definitely the ones that have, a lot of them deal with like, the struggle stuff. So absolutely. Niggas talk about skin fetish. Meanwhile, they'll marry a cat white whale for her white skin. While at the same time fetishizing Black women's big butts. Definitely a form. Oh yeah, marrying fat white women. Yep, definitely a form of hypocrisy. I am. Yeah, hyper fanatic. Russian women are very feminine. Hey, Tassie Lori. Let's see. That's true, Anastasia. We do have to work on both our physical and mental health. You said, I was never taught that femininity equaled submission. Only people who have a misogynist agenda teach that. Delphia, we were talking about how a lot of Black people in certain spaces on social media say that the Black woman's biggest problem is that we don't put ourselves under submission to Black men, and they use the Bible as a justification. So we were talking about how, according to biblical principles, when the Bible talks about submission, it says that wives should submit to their husbands and husbands should submit to Christ. And so the concept of submission from that standpoint is not to submit to a man just because he's a man, but to submit to a man if he's someone that has married you, right? And only if he's a man that's under submission to God. But a lot of Black women who are Christians or who follow the other Abrahamic religions really miscommunicate that idea. And then I know even with saying that, right, there are some women who don't believe in the idea of submitting to a man. But I'm just saying, if you're going to do it and you're doing it under a Christian way of thinking, that concept is only for wives to submit to husbands who are in submission to God. Yep, that's true, Tassie. Black women are being used, dark-skinned Black women are being used mainly for sex and breeding. Yep. Yeah, when it comes to teasing and bullying, the parents, particularly moms, do need to take it more seriously, Chaz. Yep, I don't care if they kick out your Black boys, they need not to tease or bully. Yeah. Yep. Yes, don't let these dudes use you as indirect surrogate mothers. That's very true, Tassie. Anastasia, you said Black women scream cultural appropriation, but will appropriate other women's culture. You said you saw a Black woman wearing a sari and no Indian screamed appropriation. Well, I will say, I don't know if you saw that video with, I think it was Coldplay and the song they had with Beyonce. I don't know the name of the song, but I remember the hook. But in the video, I think they were in India, and Beyonce was wearing traditional Indian attire, and women in India accused her of cultural appropriation. But then you had other groups of Indian women who were saying that they felt good to see a woman who was more brown being portrayed in a certain way because of the colorism that exists in India. They liked, even though to us Beyonce is light skinned, but in other parts of the world or even in certain parts of the country, she would be considered more brown. So that was an interesting conversation, but there were actually women in India who accused her of cultural appropriation for a music video. And you said you have mammies beating up and killing innocent Black young girls. Yep, that's true. I can care less. Yep, only mammies and mules get angry when Black men date out because they think they have no other options. That's very true, Delphia. You said you want to discredit Black men and their value to the world or a woman era Black. We're Black women first. And so being self first is not about discrediting anyone else. Okay? Hey, Berry Girlfriend. You said it's a scorched earth policy. Mm-hmm. And that's interesting, Anastasia. You said Black women who are Black identified scream out cultural appropriation. I mean, I'm kind of like 50-50 on it because on one hand, I do think that in a lot of ways, people mimic or outright steal the things that we've created. But on the other hand, a lot of Black women don't value Blackness. And when I say Blackness, I mean the Black woman's image. So a lot of the things that we do when we are quote unquote beautifying ourselves is done in a way to minimize our Black features. And so, that's a whole nother conversation. So I do see how for some people it looks odd for us to talk about cultural appropriation when in some cases we then are doing things to make ourselves look less Black. Okay, you're saying I guess some of them feel like they don't have options. Oh wow, you said they have 5 to 8 kids by different men. Okay, that's an interesting point. I can care less. I mean, I have seen even Black women who don't have any of that who will still get very upset about Black men dating out because they view it as a potential partner being taken away from them instead of them just dealing with men that want them. Oh, you said ones just said they want dark-skinned Black women to breed the next generation of sports players. Don't be used as a pawn. That's true, Tassie Lori. Yep. Black women won't wise up and close shop. Very true, Berry Girlfriend. You said you've been seeing a lot of obvious biracial women going for Blackness, and you're like, you're not even Black. I am richly melanated. Yeah, I mean, I think that, that's a layered conversation because it's kind of like, on the one hand, a lot of the images that are promoted as being Black women are actually either women who are biracial with one Black parent or women who are not Black at all, like who have no Blackness in them. They're just Blackfishing. And that's a problem, and it has to be addressed. On the flip side, you have a lot of biracial women who I guess grew up their whole lives identifying and being identified as Black. And so they feel, or the way that they explain it anyway, I guess they feel like rejected to be told that they're not Black. But even in that, I do think my biggest problem with it is that many people who are operating from a position of privilege refuse to acknowledge that they do have some privilege. Like how Amber Rose, who is a biracial woman, she acknowledged that she realized that she got a lot of the modeling opportunities that she got because she's biracial. And she was able to admit that when she called Kodak Black out for his colorist statements. So I do think that if more biracial women would at least be willing to acknowledge that even if it's not a privilege that they sought out, right? You can't help being born Black or whatever color or biracial. But if they were willing to at least acknowledge that that privilege existed, then these conversations would be a lot easier. Do you know what I mean? You said Black men, yep, are very protective of their image. We have been completely careless with our image and we underestimate its value. We can learn some things from watching how Black men move. That's very true, Chasby. Why do you think so many of them got upset about The Rock playing John Henry? Now, as far as I know, The Rock has always been accepted and supported by Black men, right? But once he got a role and they felt like he was too light to play that role, they pointed that out. And some people have done that with the movie. I think it's a movie that they're making about Venus and Serena Williams, and Will Smith is slated to play the father. And you have people having conversations about whether or not Will Smith is too light to play that role, even though, I mean, as far as I know, he's fully Black. But Black men do a very good job at not letting people erase their image. A lot of us as Black women don't. Yes, Barry Girlfriend. You said they won't let us speak from our experiences. That's very true. Right. That's very true. Part of the dress code said no sagging pants and wife beaters. And you did not, the Black men who talked about the dress code policy didn't talk about that part of it. They only talked about the part, where they were encouraging Black women to wear bonnets. That's very true, Chasby. None of these conversations, including from the Black women who have supported the bonnets. And a lot of those Black women, like, they might be nice people, but they are male identified. So they are so protective of the Black man's image, right? That they didn't bring that part of it up. Very true, Chaz. Yep, you said, why can't Black women contextualize their situations? It's madness. Very true, Barry Girlfriend. The most dangerous Black women in the United States. Okay, the most dangerous Black woman in the United States is the one that loves and takes care of herself. The ones that put themselves first. Very true. I can care less. Right. Black women think that not being able to dress up as a racist stereotype is anti-Black. Very true, Chasby. You said there can be a community of only Black women. Sad, but African American men are already done. They divested years ago. Yep. African American women are just waking up. That's very true, Anastasia. They didn't call themselves divesting, but that's basically what they were doing. Well, they did. They have a movement called Save Yourselves, Black Men, which is basically a Black male divestment movement. You said because the majority of Black women are only concerned about what Black men and Black boys care about. They could care less about Black women and girls. Very true. I can care less. Okay, you said there are all women communities in Kenya. That's interesting, Black Rose. Oh, wow. You said the man in the chat right now came to my channel and wrote a 3-page essay on how I should not make the videos I do. He is demonstrating how Black men control their image by bullying and policing us. That's very interesting, Delphia. That's very, very interesting. I thought I had seen that username before. I didn't know where. You said Black women could have been divested from Black men and made a community. Many are still attached to niggas. Very true. Live, love, and enjoy. That's very true. Yep. Even Black mothers are in that group. They care less. They could care less for their own daughters. That's very true, Barry Girlfriend. You said bullying and policing is one of their main tactics. That's very true, Chasby. See, I'm going to remove this comment and just keep it moving. I'm not even going to read that because that's not true. You said you're sick of Black women calling Black men kings. Yep, while a lot of us won't even fix themselves up. That's very true. I can care less. You said these Black women are still nursing their Black sons. It's hard to a Black woman to divest with a Black son. I don't care what anyone says, y'all are still birthing them. That's an interesting point, live, love, and enjoy. That's a very interesting point. I've seen in some conversations where there are some people who think that it's easier for Black women who don't have children to divest, or who don't have, that's interesting. I mean, I do think that there are divested Black women with Black children. However, I do wonder if it's hard for Black women in general to not take their personal experience and try to assume that that's what other Black women experience. So if a Black woman had a great relationship with her father, or a spouse, or has children, sometimes I do wonder if it's hard for us to understand that that's not the experience of the majority of Black women. And you can just look at the statistics and then listen to the personal, testimonies from a lot of Black women. You said you hate the king thing too. I don't let them call me queen either. My thing, Chasby, is a lot of these guys that call Black women queens are not even in relationships with Black women. So the queen thing is just, it's a way to boost a Black woman's ego, but it's a Black woman that you would never actually date or marry yourself. And I feel like that's what a lot of those guys are doing. They're like, my queen, my Black queen. But then in other conversations, you see them say that they don't believe that marriage is important. They don't see the importance in a family structure. So it's almost like a way of just trying to get in your pants. Yeah, you said a lot have had major psychological issues and not developed in a lot of areas in life. That's not true. I have to remove this comment, Era Black, because it's not true. We do not give, as a collective, I'm telling you, the majority of Black women, and it's unfortunate, but the majority of Black women simply accept what's offered when it comes to a Black man. That's why you see so many situations where so many Black women are hurt and physically and mentally and emotionally abused, because they are accepting attention from whatever men gives them attention. Because Black women have been told so long that we're wrong to have standards. That's why I hate Steve Harvey. Because a lot of his dating advice to Black women is basically to settle. Settle and you can end up in a relationship, is basically what he said. Instead of saying, have your standards and find ways to be in the same spaces with the type of men that you want. Right. Why do Black women even listen to Black male celebrities? That's true, live, love, and enjoy. The thing with Taye Diggs, I heard about that, I think, on Hot Topics, because Wendy talked about it a couple years back. But yeah, I've gotten to the point where I don't listen to them. Like, you had all these women that were listening to Tyrese. I guess he used to give dating advice or whatever on Instagram. And then they got in their feelings when they saw who he married. Right? Both of them walking around like hot, sick messes, talking about my king with no job, no place except for hers, and leeching off of her. Right. You said you don't even listen to Black female celebrities, live, love, and enjoy. No, 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 no. That has to be removed too. We're not promoting struggle love, okay? Yeah, a lot of Black women celebrities um, simply cannot be supported, Chasby. It broke my heart to have to stop supporting Taraji P. Henson because when people were talking about R. Kelly, she was like, well, how come we're not talking about mute Harvey Weinstein? And people had to tell her all of the ways that Harvey Weinstein has been held responsible and accountable for his sexually predatory behavior. And the fact that Harvey Weinstein is going on trial sometime this summer and has been, I believe, wearing a GPS monitored ankle bracelet for the last year. So I had to stop supporting her. And then she came back and apologized. And it's like, yeah, but you just showed that your allegiance was to the Black man and not to the underage Black girls that he preyed on. Okay? Yeah, live, love, and enjoy. I don't have anything against Black men. I don't think anyone here has anything against Black men. You know. A lot of those guys do pose as personal trainers on Instagram to get likes. That's very true. I can care less. Yep, he did come in to push a narrative, Delphia. That's why I removed the messages. You said they resent quality and successful Black women. They will give that woman hell and try to bring her down. Very true, Tassie. You said life is too short to care about Black men's opinions or anyone else's for that matter. Yep. You wish them the best. A Black man married to a white woman isn't causing me to lose sleep. That's true, live, love, and enjoy. I think that for the collective of Black women who do tend to support Black men financially, I do think that they should consider who they give their money to, especially if the guy has proven to be colorist and has made certain statements about Black women. It's like, okay, if you hate Black women, then why would I give you my money? You said, let's see. You said Black women do too much for Black males' attention, especially the Instagram models, all the ass shots. Black men have made the term average as if it's a curse. That's true, live, love, and enjoy. And I wonder what all those butt shots are going to look like, in 20 or 30 years. Like, do you have to get them redone? Do you have to? I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like. I think it looks healthier. If you have a small behind and you're in shape, that looks healthier than the overly inflated behind. You said you're average and Audrey Hepburn type, no fat ass and big breasts, no Brazilian weave, and you attract all races of men. That's true, live, love, and enjoy. Because there are a lot of men who like slim women. Being slim and physically fit is very attractive to a lot of men. And, not having a lot of weight in the stomach area is linked to positive health patterns. You said too many fine white and non-Black poppies for me to choose from. Yep. To worry about when Black men will value Black women in real ways and not just in talk, dick sharing, and ghettos and single motherhood. That's very true. Yep. Yep, a lot of black women do tend to center themselves around black men and their standard of beauty. Yes, and are literally morphing themselves into unnatural looking women, all for black males' attention and validation. That's very true. Live, love, and enjoy. You said black women do a lot of disassociating. You have a theory about why black women don't require black men to have tangibles. They're too busy daydreaming and living vicariously through both black and white celebrities. Maybe that's why so many black women like celebrity news and gossip, Chaz. You said you're a Marvel fan and the movie could have been way better, talking about Black Panther. I think so too, Black Rose. I think some of the acting could have been a little bit better. That's true. A lot of black women do live vicariously through Cardi B. Live, love, and enjoy. That's very true. Oh, Zuri's getting a spin-off movie? That's cool, Tazzy. I really like her. Her name is Leticia. I follow her on Instagram. She seems to be like a really sweet person. The collective of black women have the bottom of the barrel standards when it comes to black men. Even in Black Panther, black women were going crazy for that ugly black dude who has a bland looking Asian girlfriend in real life. I am richly melanated. Is that the one that was making the wolf sounds? I think that's the one I saw that had like the non-black girlfriend, and I was like, what? And y'all going crazy over him. You said black women prioritize housewives and make-believe stuff, church, etc. over their actual existence. You swear black women's minds are on vacation. It's a good point, Chaz. You said Michael B. Jordan is ugly and you don't get the hype and disappointment amongst black women. That's true. Live, love, and enjoy. Like, at best, he's average looking. Like, in certain parts of the country, it's not hard to meet a guy that looks like him. Yep. A lot of people were living vicariously through Wakanda. Even Chad, I think his name is Chad Boseman, the guy that played Black Panther. Even he said he was tired of people walking up to him and doing, that arm sign. Same exact thing with Best Man, Tazzy Lori. Let's see. You said disassociation would be a useful survival trait if you were experiencing slavery, Jim Crow. That's an interesting point, Chaz. Yeah, live, love, enjoy. A lot of people were wearing, the clothing and all that stuff. And people will do that with cosplay. You know how people do that with like the Rocky Horror Picture Show? They dress up in certain things. They will do the same thing with Black Panther. Watch. Black relationships don't work because there are no morals in Black America. That's true. That's true. Live, love, and enjoy. Rarely two-parent Black households, morals, culture. That's very true. Yep, hyper fanatic. Men will chase a woman that they really want. Having standards and morals is Eurocentric. They act as if we would not have any standards without them. That's very true, Chaz. The purge is happening and they don't realize it. I agree, Black Rose. Yeah, live, love, and enjoy. A lot of times we don't talk, Black people don't teach their children the importance of picking quality mates. I see your point. I can care less. Maybe before integration, black men were only with black women because they couldn't be with other women legally. I think black female celebrities should start having no black men in their videos because black men have erased us out of their fame, fan base, and significant others in movies and music videos. That's a good point, Delphia. You said the purge needs to speed up. I can care less. You said you can't be upset at a black man in college choosing a quality white woman over ghetto Keisha with 2 babies. I can't get mad at a black woman for choosing a quality white man over Tyrone who sells dope with 2 baby mamas. That's a good point, live, love, and enjoy. They say marriage is Eurocentric. Yep, meanwhile, black immigrants come here and have higher marriage rates than African Americans in beautiful weddings. Very true, Chadsby. Black immigrants, depending on what part of the world they're from, they do seem to value marriage more. You said you can see both sides. You can't blame black people for dating out. There's rarely quality people in the black community. You have to leave to find a quality person. I see your point, live, love, and enjoy. My only problem is this whole idea of black men being able to put non-black women on a pedestal while also trying to control the narrative about black women's dating and mating choices. That's my only problem with it. Like, you know, trying to present black women in a certain way if we don't make the life decisions that they feel like we should make. You said, like KSC said, black people will have to go to damn near extinction for things to turn around. That's sad, but that's very true. I can care less. Okay, you said light-skinned black women who are unambiguous are seen as basic or average, live, love, and enjoy. Okay. That's interesting. So maybe, okay. Maybe I'll have to kind of look into that a little bit more. So maybe that's why there are some light-skinned women that kind of get offended about some of the conversations about colorism. So basically, you're saying that brown and darker skinned black women may be assuming that lighter skinned black women have a privilege that they don't actually have. Okay, that's interesting. Yes, we do need a reset, Black Rose. Absolutely. I do think that wait, let me go back up. Oh no. Wait. I got lost in the comments again. Okay, I think I'm okay. Live, love, and enjoy. You said it's basically the racially ambiguous women with silky hair and green eyes that they want. If a light skinned woman has typical Negro features, she still isn't desired. I can see that. Because I guess a lot of the women that I see promoted now, like a lot of the. Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense because a lot of the lighter skinned women that you see promoted now are actually biracial and not black. So they're not like light skinned black women, but they're racially ambiguous biracial women. Okay, I can see that. I can see that. You said it will take being on the brink of extinction because they find no value in Black women and think any woman can produce Black babies. Men fear their image no longer existing and being reproduced, I guess would cause them to change, but Black men don't have any fear since Black women produce babies in abundance for free. That's true, Chaz. Oh no, you said you left him and that's why he came to your job. Oh no, AP. I'm glad you're okay and doing well because that could have been very dangerous. You said it's very clear that American Black women do not want to exist. Huh. That's an interesting point. I can care less. Maybe that's why we don't, as a collective, care about our image because we don't care about existing. That's true. Dark skinned people will never go exist because there's a whole continent of Black people and islands. Plus, there are a lot of Black people in places like Brazil, and other parts of the world. So, you know. You said Black American men see themselves as being separate from African men. That's true, Chaz. That's very true. You said, I see your point. I can care less. You said Black men are always asking Black women who raised them. Yep, and Black women never respond to that question. That's true, Chaz, because a good response would be, well, who abandoned them? you know. You said Catholic is the most oppressive, live, love, and enjoy. You said they want a few around to keep the mammy brigade going. That's true, Black Rose. Oh, okay. You said most Catholic women don't talk to their children about sex. Huh. I didn't know that, live, love, and enjoy. Okay. You said you already know mixed race women married to white men, so these women are waking up. Mm-hmm. They are waking up hyper fanatic. Okay, you said Black men know that biracial women from Black mothers are not as easily sexually accessible as biracials with Black fathers, which is most mixed kids, yes. Okay, I didn't know he said that I am richly melanated. I know he said not to, at one point in the past, he said that Black men should only deal with biracial women that don't have Black mothers. You said Black women try to save all Black men. They need to evolve on their own or die off. Yep. They pretty much are zombies, the Walking Dead, and should not be here. Yep. Our mentality is anti-self-preservation. That's very true, Chaz. You said most Black men would not exist if it wasn't for Black women taking care of them. That's true, Delphia, and they don't appreciate it at all. They make fun of the mothers who birthed them and took care of them, and in many cases struggle to take care of them alone. You said Meghan Markle's mother is light brown skin. She looks like your average Black woman. Yeah, I can care less. I think her name is Miss Ragland. I think she's a nice looking older lady, and you can tell she's very poised, a very classy woman. You know, you don't get the hype of Meghan Markle. She has a Black woman, but I don't live through biracial women. Live life and enjoy. I think it was just because of all of the conversations. Excuse me, guys, I have a little bit of a cold. Hold on one second. This time of the year, when we have a bit of pollen in the air. I pretty much have a raspy voice most of the spring and summer. But I think with Meghan Markle, it was just, there were so many conversations where people were suggesting that the reason that so many Black women don't get married is because, what were they saying? Black women can't raise women who are eligible for marriage. And so I think that was the point there. Yep. Those who get with the those who are supposed to be here will get with the program and evolve. Black women don't have the courage to require that he be a man. So few men exist in our community. That's true, Chaz. Yeah, they were hurt over not being chosen in that scenario. And that's why they're scared of Black women divesting. That's true. I am richly melanated. Because the daughters of divested Black women, whether those daughters are Black or biracial, the daughters of divested Black women will have mothers that teach them about self-preservation, being self first, and having requirements and standards that, frankly, will mean that a lot of these guys with certain talking points won't be eligible for their daughters. Black men do prefer the children Black women have with white men, despite what they say. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting, Chaz. You said Black women actively work to make things harder for themselves. They attempt to increase their sexual competition. Everyone else tries to decrease the competition. Non-Black women care if their men date out. That's true. They are not out here welcoming Black women. That's true, Chaz. They are not welcoming and inviting at all, especially not in the ways that Black women are. We are extremely welcoming and inviting and accepting of women like Cardi B and other non-Black women. And other races of women don't do that. Okay, that's very true. You said you've noticed it's rarely biracial males who scream, "I'm Black." They rarely fight for the Black position. It's predominantly biracial females. That's an interesting point, Delphia. That's interesting. I don't see a lot of conversations with Black biracial men. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I hadn't really thought about it, but that's true. Most of those conversations about biracial people fighting for the Black position does seem to be the biracial women. Yeah. That's true, Chaz. We are too kind. We are too kind. You said the problem is that Black women and race loyal whites are playing by different rules. White women are not demonized for bullying Black women or caring about where white male penises go. That's true, Delphia. I'm telling you, white women are in the comment sections of white supremacist channels talking about how they will not support white men who promote interracial relationships or marriages. And when they say interracial, they're not just talking about with Black women. They're talking about with any woman that is not a white woman. Okay? And they are specifically concerned about the number of white men who are participating in relationships and marriages with Asian women. Hey, psychologist. You said lots of women are not being taught about their self-worth and honoring themselves in the Black women. Yep, there are Black women with kids who are divested on YouTube. That's true, psychologist. I was just saying some of the conversations that I've heard people say. There are some Black women in BWE spaces who don't think that you can do that. So, but yeah. You said, why is it hard to divest with Black sons? I hope we can figure out how to raise sons that don't hate Black women, be it a Black son or a biracial one. Divestment won't fully address that relationship dynamic. I think that if you have more Black women who don't view divestment as a rejection of their Black sons, then it won't be so hard. But I think that a lot of the Black women that I have seen that are just so against Black women in interracial relationships, or they're against Black women who are self first, they're thinking from the perspective of the men and boys in their lives. And so there are some women who seem to think that the Black women who think that way may view divestment as a rejection of their, of their Black sons. Yeah, Taraji P. Henson is a mammy. You said Black women are divesting. Let's go back. Black women are divesting, but really I see it as Black women behaving like normal people. Most relationships require reciprocity. The way most function currently is not normal. Only Black women invest in their own destruction. That's true, Chaz. You said, if you don't want your son to hate and despise Black women and Black people, keep him away from the collective and keep him away from Black male identified Black women. That was I Can Care Less. Black women are made fun of when they desire simple things that are a given for everyone else. Is dehumanizing. That's true, Chaz. You said, I don't believe you have to leave the community to find high quality dates, but Black women must be open to going to where we're valued most. I see your point, psychologist. I mean, there are divested Black women who only have a preference for Black men. So my thing is just that, like you said, we have to have the openness to go where we are the most valued. And having standards in men will mean that you will attract quality men no matter what group of men that you date. You said, I think it's important to not forget that this treachery is not normal. Black men are out of pocket. I'm not going to let them change the narrative and 50 years from now blame Black women for it. That's true, Chaz. And see, what they're trying to do now is change the narrative on social media and in other spaces. And that's why they're so concerned about the conversations that we're having. They're trying to tone down years worth of their rhetoric and make it seem like, oh no, this was just conversation and banter. We didn't really mean it, and you guys are taking it in a way that we don't mean it, and that's very deceptive to me. Anastasia, you said, here in London, many Black women are going crazy over Meghan Markle. Maybe it's because she was born and raised by an African-American woman, but we just see her as a biracial duchess. You said you have biracial children, but it's different here in the UK. They have their own identity and category. Maybe it's an American thing. Yeah, because in other parts of the world, you didn't have like the one drop rule. So here in the US, in the past, if you had any Blackness in you, you were considered Black. So people were pointing out, for example, George Zimmerman. He has a Black great grandparent or a Black great great grandparent. So at one point in certain parts of the country, he would have actually been been considered Black. So because of that history for so long, people that would normally be identified as mixed race or biracial in other parts of the world have been identified as Black here. But now people are really starting to have conversations about whether or not that should be the case. And I think the census was recently updated to give people the opportunity to, who are biracial, to acknowledge that. You said, unlike America, we don't force Blackness on them. They embrace both cultures. That's why they're extremely confused in America. You said unattractive white women and biracial women are elevated in the Black community, so they have more privileges among Black people than they would have among white people. Same for their average-looking mixed children. That's why Black women need to chill with the mammyish, googly-eyed uplifting of these white women's children. Side note, I really wish Black women would stop telling white women how to comb their biracial children's hair. That's true, Chaz. I mean, that's what I was talking about before, how sometimes when people are operating from a position of privilege, they don't want to acknowledge it. And so it becomes like this really uncomfortable conversation. But the reality is, and I think everyone with a Black background understands this. The reality is that we see and hear the things that a lot of Black men say, and then we see and hear the ways that there are a lot of Black women who will uplift mixed race people. So to act like that privilege doesn't exist is kind of like, okay, well, we can't talk about colorism and those type of things with you if you can't at least acknowledge that you're coming from that position of privilege. In the UK, most biracials I run into have no idea of their father. Interesting. They only know their father of African, or they only know that their father is of African or West Indian ancestry. That's interesting, Anastasia. If you think that 98% in America is bad, please come to the UK. That's very interesting, because I'm hearing people have conversations about the number of non-Black women in these interracial relationships who are ending up as single mothers. So that is very interesting. Well, you guys, I am going to wrap it up. I did not realize that I had been on here for so long, but I really enjoyed talking to you all. So thank you to everyone who participated in the conversation in the chat. And if you enjoyed the dialogue, please hit the like button. Please make sure you're subscribed. And if you're watching the playback, thank you for watching. And please make sure that you also like and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And I will talk to you very soon. All right?